Right, exactly. You know, so if it's not that, and then you got, how can I switch? Okay, great. So if I wake up at about 4:35, and if I leave Karachi by 6, I can get to Thatta by 7:15, right? And I can work there from morning to afternoon, and then I can drive straight to rehearsal after that. And then I think it had a very charming way of asking the right questions. Doesn't that sound snooty? It sounds very snooty. The question of meaning is something that plagues us all the time, right? But you don't have to carry it on your back like a bloody mission. You can just laugh it off and move on. You know, you believe other things. You don't just believe the lines. You believe an actor for where their eyes are. You believe them for how they carry themselves. You believe them for, I don't know, the mood they're in, whatever. But that's the belief.
हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम, वेलकम टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ द पाकिस्तान एक्सपीरियंस। मैं बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड हूँ बिकॉज मेरे फेलो थेस्पियन हमारे साथ आए हुए हैं। 20 साल हो गए हैं, नियरली 2 डेकेड्स थिएटर में काम करते करते। उस जर्नी में हम चलेंगे आज मैमेट से लेकर एडवर्ड एल्बी से लेकर सैमुअल बेकेट से लेकर सबके खेल ये कर चुके हैं। आज हमारे साथ खेलने आए हैं जॉयलैंड के स्टार, पाम स्प्रिंग्स फेस्टिवल के बेस्ट एक्टर अली जुनेजो। कैसे लग रहा है आपको अपना सोशल मीडिया डेब्यू?
कोल्ड ओपन, आई थिंक।
इतने सवाल है, क्यों नहीं हम इंस्टाग्राम पे आपको ताड़ सकते?
नहीं, मुझसे नहीं किया जाता। नहीं होता। आई थिंक वो बहुत स्ट्रेसफुल है, टू स्ट्रेसफुल।
अपनी तस्वीरें किसी को दे दें, वो मैनेज कर ले।
हाँ, ये कुछ लोगों ने कहा है कि ये भी रूट है, लेकिन I don't know. I've never thought of it. I didn't take it seriously enough, maybe.
You're not on Instagram, you're not on Twitter, you're not on Facebook, you're not on Tinder.
Correct.
सिर्फ OnlyFans बनाया हुआ है.
Correct on all accounts, yes. Yeah. Exclusive OnlyFans.
OnlyFans / Ali Joyland. Probably ये already किसी का account होगा.
Enjoy Ali.
चलते जर्नी में चलते। वी हैड ऑलरेडी स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग अबाउट इट। क्यों आपने सोचा कि एक तो चले होता है रोड लेस ट्रैवल्ड बाय, बदले ले लेते हैं गलती से। एक आपने रोड देखा जिसमें सिर्फ जलालत थी, जिसमें कीलें थी, जिसमें कोई नहीं जा रहा था। आपने सोचा ये करता हूँ यार, पाकिस्तान जैसे मुल्क में थिएटर करता हूँ।
आई थिंक 2005-06 में स्कूल में प्ले किया था।
Which school was this?
KGS.
Which play?
Good question. I don't know. Was it Androcles and the Lion? या ऐसा कुछ था अजीब सा। I really don't remember. I think a part of my brain is also कि भूल जाओ, ऐसी चीज़ें याद नहीं रखते। गलत बात है। हाँ, वहाँ वो किया था। उसके बाद आई डोंट नो, पढ़ाई में तो मैं बिल्कुल बेकार था हमेशा। अभी भी अगर कोई आई थिंक कोशिश करे, आई बी क्वाइट हॉरिबल एट इट। उसके बाद एक वो नहीं होता कि आपके स्कूल के दोस्त जो हैं एक प्ले कर रहे हैं, या और फिर ये भी एक ग्रुप होता है जो आउटसाइड स्कूल प्लेस कर रहा होता है। दिस मिस्टीरियस ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल दैट इज दैट्स टुगेदर टू डू you know, a play that's not a children's play necessarily.
और वो सारे वो plays होते हैं जो कोई नहीं देखेगा. And then there were none.
That's the exact
That's
one.
the one.
That is the one. That's the one.
I was like, कौन सा वाला सोचे जो कोई नहीं देखता और बच्चे सोचते हैं अब हम ये करेंगे, अब हम सीरियस थिएटर करते हैं।
बिल्कुल एगाथा क्रिस्टी था, और बिल्कुल यकीनन ये 10 Little Indians and then there were खेल ही यही था, बिल्कुल यही था।
ये किसने प्रोड्यूस किया था? I remember this happening in Karachi.
The name it was Mythos Productions, I think that's what we had called it.
Knew somebody. Khair,
it was a few unusual suspects. तो उसका audition चल रहा था। I just went, I auditioned. Lo and behold, surprisingly, I got a part. And वो किया। उसके बाद ऐसे ही 1-2 और हम करते रहे plays, जिसके बाद I think I figured क्योंकि पढ़ाई में बिल्कुल I mean useless था कि यही कुछ करना पड़ेगा. You know.
कहाँ गए आप बैचलर्स के लिए?
I was in Malaysia for my bachelor's, and I mean I studied film there. लेकिन again ये एक चीज़ है ना, मुझे ये लगा था कि थिएटर करते करते कराची में उसके बाद प्रोग्रेशन नेचुरल एक ये आती है कि आप थिएटर करते करते फिल्म करने लग जाएं. I don't know why this seems like a progression. I don't know if they're not it's a similar field. It's not the exact same thing though. And I don't know why. I was obviously younger and stupider.
Industry नहीं है ना theater, but I guess in places where these industries are formalized, अगर आप theater कर रहे हैं तो वो theater for its own sake आप करते हैं.
हाँ,
like Broadway is the goal, film is not the goal.
Right. But that also begs the question that if it is in fact a progression, then जो यहाँ पे अगर आपको ऐसा लगता है कि थिएटर क्योंकि नहीं है या स्कोप नहीं है, जो भी है, आप आगे जाके फिल्म कर लेंगे. What exactly is the film market here? I'm not saying there isn't, but I'm saying it's a question worth asking.
So, I mean, अगर हम वाकई ये सवाल genuinely पूछ रहे हैं, so film market यहाँ पर film की नहीं है, but अगर आप actor हैं, I mean, there have been a few projects with 3-4 actors to launch themselves, have produced their own movie and come as the star, और फिर उससे ये हुआ है कि फिर वो ads आना शुरू हो जाते हैं.
What was this?
Bunch of these movies. I think Superstar जो है बिलाल की, वो बिलाल ने खुद प्रोड्यूस की है. अली रहमान और हरीम वाली जो मूवी थी पर्ची, was it called पर्ची? I think they produced it themselves. इस तरह 2-3 ऐसी हुई हैं. अभी जो मुहिब की मेड इन चाइना थी वो मुहिब ने खुद बनाई है. So इशरत इन चाइना.
इशरत मेड इन चाइना ऐसा कुछ था ना?
उसी तरह का नाम है.
हाँ.
तो वो मार्केट है कि आप एक फिल्म स्टार आएँ और फिर एज फिल्म स्टार आपको 6 और काम मिल जाएंगे. साहिर लोधी मेड हिज ओन मूवी.
Right, but I mean same question ना, मतलब वहाँ पे where exactly is that? Okay, that is a market, yes, that has, it looks like a film market or it smells like a film market, and it seems to have the outer scaffolding of a film market, but within it as a filmmaker I suppose आपकी नीयत यही होगी कि मैं जिस डिपार्टमेंट में स्पेशलाइज कर रहा हूँ या कर रही हूँ उसी में फर्दर डेवलपमेंट और ग्रोथ हो जाए. वो आई मीन अगर एंड गेम ये है कि एड्स मिल जाते हैं, दैट्स ग्रेट, इट मेक्स योर पॉकेट नाइस एंड थिक एंड दैट्स लवली. एंड शायद इसकी वजह से आप और फिल्म्स कर पाएँ, शायद इसकी वजह से आपको और एड्स मिले. ग्रेट, ग्रैंड. व्हाट डज एन एक्टर डू? which is the same problem I have with Instagram. I mean, if I'm going to get severe criticism for this, but I don't know. I think कि मैं script अगर open करता हूँ वहाँ से लेकर till it's the last shot, that's my job, right? I don't know. I don't know. Genuinely don't know if my job is to post stuff up on Instagram, because I'll get maybe, I don't think I have the face and the body for advertisements and TV over here and film over here. I don't think I have that.
Body तो अच्छी यार, मैंने Equus देखा है. Body में क्या मसला है? Body में क्या इशू है भाई?
Had to happen. ये खेल करते हुए मैं ये सोच रहा था कि किसी ना किसी दिन कोई याद दिलाएगा ये बात. कराची में लोग छोड़ते नहीं है, और शहजाद साहब आपने भी वहीं से उठाया.
अच्छी चीज़ है याद दिलाने वाली यार. आप क्या, आई थिंक आई वाज टीचिंग, वो जो घोड़े थे सारे, आई थिंक आई वाज टीचिंग दैट बैच.
You teaching the horses?
हाँ, how to be a horse. I mean they were students उस वक्त ना.
Some of them were students.
उनको भी they were like, सुनील सर हमें सुबह 6 बजे उठा देते हैं, भगाते हैं.
ऐसा ही है.
डाइट कंट्रोल की हुई है.
ऐसा ही है.
So even they were ripped by the time of the play.
Well, I mean, you got to go method for a horse, right? You know.
I don't know फिर उन्होंने method में और क्या क्या किया.
यार, so this is the point ना कि if I don't feel genuinely कि मेरा I suppose marketing में, ऐसा कह देते हैं, marketing में कोई scope नहीं है, ना मेरा कोई interest है उसमें, और जिनका है बिस्मिल्लाह आप कीजिए, great, I'm happy for you. But because मेरा नहीं है, the track should differ, right? So I would only need, I suppose, Instagram to get work.
It's a calling card.
Right. But if enough people end up seeing Equus, or enough people end up seeing some other work, then inshallah that should be enough reason for people to go like, yaar isko pakad lo, iska 2-3 cheezein dekhi hain, shayad kar lega. It's enough to maybe get a foot through the door. That's how Joyland happened. So that's why I you know,
it's just yes, maybe in a formal industry these things happen, but Joyland had auditions. Very few movies in Pakistan actually have auditions for lead.
I didn't know it had auditions.
It did.
Right. No, that's because, and I found that out because I was called. I didn't, क्योंकि मैं नहीं हूँ उस पे सोशल मीडिया पे या कहीं पे, मुझे कोई इश्तिहार दिखा नहीं था, मैंने किसी को कॉल नहीं की थी. लेकिन आई थिंक शुक्र है जो अभी तक काम किया है, कुछ लोगों ने कहा होगा उनको कि यार अगर किसी को ढूंढ रहे हो उससे बात कर लो. आई डोंट नो. एंड सो they called me up and they said कि
but the point I was trying to make is कि most movies जो यहाँ पे बनती हैं, yes वो छोटे roles के लिए audition करते हैं, but बड़े roles तो उनके already decided होते हैं ना सारे, कि यार अच्छा हम इनके लिए बना रहे हैं, हम इस प्रोडक्शन हाउस के लिए करते हैं, तो हमारे ये 6 एक्टर्स हैं.
तो मैं इसी बात पे कह रहा हूँ कि द फंडामेंटल जो स्कैफोल्डिंग है वो उसकी नहीं है. मुझे दिख नहीं रही. आई कुड बी रॉन्ग, लेकिन मुझे दिख नहीं रही, उसका फाउंडेशन नहीं दिख रहा. फाउंडेशन यही होता है कि यू इंक्रीज कॉम्पिटिशन इन द मार्केट. यू मेक श्योर कि एक रोल के लिए कोई 6 लोग कर सकते हैं, तो शायद 6 में से एक अपने आप को इम्प्रूव करके कुछ कर लेगा या कर लेगी उस रोल में. Right, and so there's constant things developing in the market, and competition helps with that. If the roles are all decided, there's no competition. If there's no competition, there's no development. Nobody's really trying to get better at anything, and what are you going to do?
And they're also not looking for actors. मैं बैठ चुका हूँ producers के साथ. I'm like आपने इसको क्यों cast किया? इसको acting नहीं आती. They're like यार इसके Instagram followers इतने थे.
हाँ.
इस तरह अगर आप cast
marketing angle से अगर आप देख रहे हो तो आप market ही कर लो ना, फिर आप फिल्म फिर
तो उस दुनिया में for them to be like यार अच्छा एक्टर कौन है उसको हम लें, इनसे तो ना ही current most of them से तो ना ही आप एक्सपेक्ट करें. Yes, obviously there are some good people. I was talking to Jami says कि यार मैं I do one for the kitchen, one for the soul. मैं ads बनाता हूँ ताकि मेरे पास पैसा है, उस पैसे से मैं मूवी बना देता हूँ. That's a great, I think, way to go about it.
बिल्कुल ठीक है. I mean, why the hell not? I mean, you're getting the job done. You're doing what it takes to get the job done, and you're trying to make the job better than the last one.
He's an artist.
Sure.
A lot of our directors, producers are not artists. They're business people.
Well, see, that's the point that I'm making, is that जब foundation नहीं है, और I think उसको बनाने के लिए जिस हद तक हमें जाना पड़ेगा, या किस किस्म की मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, या किस किस्म के लोगों को इन्वॉल्व करना पड़ेगा, जिन लोगों को शायद पैसों की कदर नहीं है, या जो लोग सिर्फ आई थिंक क्रिएटिवली आर्टिस्टिकली जो भी है उस तरह सोचते हैं. आई एम नॉट क्लेमिंग टू बी एनी ऑफ दीज पीपल.
वही लोग तो फुकरे हैं. वही तो मसला यही तो है. यही तो हम लोग ही तो गरीब हैं.
यही तो बात है ना. तो अगर वो चीज़ हो नहीं सकती तो फिर देन देयर इज़ नो नेसेसरी इंडस्ट्री दैट यू आर लुकिंग टू. एंड लुक, again, I have respect for whoever's doing the job that they're doing and they're successful at it. Bismillah karen. Great. Thank you. Good for you. And I support that 100%. But I'm just saying I'm having trouble finding my place because I try to have a set of rules that I like to live by, or some code that I like to live by. And I think the whole point of this whole thing is you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So, you know, if I want to really be acting, then I really want to do that. And then I don't want to necessarily do the other things. And that's the sword I die by, maybe, you know. But I'm living by it too. So
I mean, you've done well for yourself.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
But there are obviously people who've done well on this route as well. Ahmed Ali Akbar itne saal theatre kar raha tha. Then he got that drama, which did really well. And now he's a mainstream actor. And he's doing.
He was in Kamal's film as well, wasn't he?
हाँ मंचा के साथ. लाल कबूतर.
He was in that as well.
Yeah. But I think वो Parizad, this is breakthrough, like A-list actor.
Yeah.
Awards and on the map type thing.
No, I'm happy that he got that route. And that's the thing. I'm sure he had to do what he had to do, and he did it. Good, great.
So आप फिर मलेशिया से वापस आ गए बैचलर्स करके?
हाँ, मैं आ गया वापस. वीज़ा का कोई चक्कर था. Typical.
डिग्री मिली?
डिग्री मिल गई. मसला ये था कि I was trying to stay on. I wanted to extend, maybe work. and things like that. But
आपकी वजह से पाकिस्तानी बदनाम है.
लेकिन I think
ओवरस्टे वीज़ा कर रहे हैं.
नहीं, ओवरस्टे नहीं किया था, शुक्र है ओवरस्टे नहीं किया था. नहीं, इतनी गैरत थी फिर भी कि ओवरस्टे नहीं किया. लेकिन ये मसला था कि उसको चेंज करने के लिए टू अ वर्क परमिट आई थिंक 2-3 और चीज़ें होती हैं. एंड आई डिडंट नो एंड आई एम स्टूपिड. लिहाजा मैं वापस आ गया एंड रिकनेक्टेड विद सम ओल्ड फ्रेंड्स जो थिएटर कर रहे थे. और वहाँ से फिर हमने काम शुरू किया. दैन हमने सोचा कि हम अपने ही खेल लिख लेते हैं. तो आई थिंक पहला लिखते लिखते एक आइडिया आया, फिर वहाँ से दूसरा हमने शुरू कर लिया और तीसरा भी लिख लिया. एंड वी परफॉर्म्ड 2 of them and
original plays.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the one at T2F with Meher Jafri. That one?
Yeah.
The one in the cage.
The Man on the Black Horse. That was the first one we did. And then the next one was called The Portrait of Rumi that we did at Napa. So, original खेल थे. And, वैसा कुछ हो नहीं रहा था उस वक्त. So, it was a great place to be. Obviously, आपको पता ही है कि theatre में there's not really any money that way. But what you do have is that you know that you'll work day and night और आप जान देने को तैयार हो ताकि कुछ बन जाए या कुछ हो जाए या प्रोजेक्ट ही ख़त्म हो जाए. And when you're ready for that, then theatre आ जाता है. Then you just keep going.
It's just spaces like T2F were a godsend. मैंने भी बहुत plays किए वहाँ पर. Because community theatre का हमारे यहाँ पे concept नहीं है ना. Either you do arts council where you need sponsorship and you do this 20-30 day run. But अगर मैंने एक play लिखा है, मुझे भी नहीं पता अच्छा है या नहीं है, till I don't put it on its feet, I need like a small black box. वो नहीं है यहाँ पर.
Yeah, we don't have that. We don't have that. I don't think again ये वही बात है ना कि market का जो final shape और form है वही थोड़ा सा it's still forming somewhat. And I'm thankful for everything that's putting it together, but it's still forming. जिसकी वजह से जो origin spaces हैं वो भी नहीं बनी. Right? So the whole track is kind of mismatched and strange. But I think maybe even this conversation and lots of other things that are happening are the reason behind which the final form might take form. And same for the start, I would hope.
So let's get into your head as a playwright. When you say कि we got together and started writing a play, what's the impetus? What's the thought process? Do you be like अच्छा नहीं अब हम पता करें plays कैसे लिखते हैं, or you're like अच्छा let's put it on its feet and we'll learn?
The latter. I think part of being a terrible student is also knowing कि करने से ही होता है.
इतना तो फेल हो गए और हो जाएंगे क्या?
और हो जाएंगे
क्या हो गया?
और क्या कहते हैं, अगर कोई प्रोजेक्ट करना है, अगर कुछ लिखना है तो करने से ही सीख लेगा आदमी कि अच्छा ये किरदार शायद ये चाहता है या ये वो है या whatever, उसके जो भी डायनामिक्स हैं. एंड आई सपोज इतनी फिल्में हमने देखी नहीं थी तब तक, नॉट नियरली इनफ, लेकिन कुछ तो देखी हुई थी. एंड आई थिंक हमने थिएटर भी इतना तो इन टर्म्स ऑफ एटलीस्ट प्लेस पढ़े हुए थे, जिसकी वजह से we just had I think the main source was कि यार we want to do something together as friends and as colleagues and as actors and this that, हमें बस करना है कुछ. And लिखने के लिए obviously we had to go to funny places in our minds के you have to ask yourself a question, why should I care about this story? मैं लिख तो रहा हूँ, why the hell should I care about it? What are the stakes? Why? And all of that, which is I suppose when people are more educated than me, they begin to start at a different level. But I had to start with figuring out the basics of that. And then I just kept, we just kept going at each other with scenes. And I would write some, my friend would write some, then we'd see where they were going and we'd keep kind of, and he was much better than me at this, but we would keep trying to develop this. And karte, story comes out of it. And then I think one of the things जो मेरे ज़हन में बात होती है हमेशा खेल लिखते हुए या फिल्म लिखते हुए is that it would be funny if ... Wouldn't it be crazy if ... Like just throw something weird into the mix, something that doesn't make sense, and then find a way to justify it, and then a story comes out of it somehow. Now I don't know which one of those scenes end up on paper, But even with the most recent one, that was the same thing. I just had 2 characters, and I thought it would be hilarious for them to just not agree on anything, but never ever, I don't know, fight. You know, so they're fighting, but they're not fighting, and everything is agreeable, but everything is disagreeable. You know, and it would be really funny if she said this, or really funny if he said this, and then I just throw that into the mix and see what happens. And if something makes me more curious, I'll try and follow it to as far as I can go with it. I think it's something like
आपने कभी improv किया?
Huh.
That's a very improv way of.
If it somewhat is, although I think I'm terrible at improv. I think I'm terrible at it. I remember the first time I tried it was with a troupe. No, it was Faris. Faris Khalid. Yeah. I love that guy, and he was so scarily good at it. Cyrus used to be there too, Vikaji. So it was Cyrus and it was Faris, and I think there was somebody else, but I don't quite remember. And then there was, you know, our group of like 2 or 3 silly people. They were trying to learn from Faris and Cyrus, and they were so good. They were frighteningly good. And I never got good at improv. I think I used to keep thinking about the fact that logon ko hasana hai or something like that, which is the problem. And the real thing is you just carry the scene. If it's funny, it'll be funny. If it's not, it won't. And it'll inevitably be funny because the situations will land you up in a space that requires some kind of relief.
Which is why I think you would actually be good at improv, because if you can play your character truthfully, that's improv. I think in a lot of live shows also, people go for the joke and people think they're funny. वो आपको laughter मिल जाता है फौरन, but वो scene तबाह हो जाता है. So the best improvisers I've seen, आपने joke तो करना ही नहीं है ना, आपने वो truthfully play करना है. So the thing that you were saying, that's the best part. If somebody walks in and says something insane, and then you have to justify that in the scene. मेरा scene partner आ गया और उसने मुझे बोल दिया कि यार डैड का मर्डर हो गया, बॉडी कैसे छुपाएं हम. अब मेरा रिएक्शन ये हो कि तुम्हें शर्म नहीं आती, तुमने अब्बू का कत्ल कर दिया. अब वो सीन तबाह हो गया, बिकॉज ही इज वॉक्ड इन विद लाइक, ओ वी हैव डन दिस, व्हाट डू वी डू नाउ, एंड you have to sort of accept, and then play along.
You can say, I didn't know you had a father,
but you'll get that laughter, right? But scene tabah ho gaya na.
No, but what I'm saying is that would be ridiculous, right? So then you can go ahead and talk about how he had a father, and you can keep the tension building of the other thing, and you never know where it goes.
Yeah, it's the justification where कोई जो देख रहा है, yes, it's hilarious, it's ridiculous, but एक believability होनी चाहिए उसके साथ. And you said you were reading plays, so ये normal impetus तो नहीं है पाकिस्तान में कि कोई play उठा के पढ़ना शुरू हो जाए.
नहीं, I think by then हमने जो क्लास में जो स्कूल में जो थे वो तो थे ही थे, but then after that I was really into the Pinters of the world, and my friend introduced me to Gaushinsky. It was really strange stuff, and there was Tom Stoppard, and there was what's his name? I mean, obviously the Beckett's and all that stuff. I think, and in fact, he introduced me to this guy who now everybody knows, Martin McDonough, who as a playwright was just amazing. He's got these crazy plays. अभी तो उसकी फिल्म शायद आपने देखी भी होंगी, इसकी कुछ फिल्म्स नहीं देखी भी होंगी आपने. I'm convinced. In a way, In Bruges, 7 Psychopaths, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Banshees, even Inisherin. ये जो अभी निकली है. It's great films, and his he had written a number of these plays that were just hilarious, with obviously very like dark undertones. वो सारी चीजें हैं, but बहुत मजे के खेल थे. और ये that was something that we read at the time a bunch of, and other things like that. And then I think I had spent some time, I don't know why I was doing this, but I'd spent some time reading something like some mysticism stuff as well, just curiously, right? And then from there we just picked up, and you throw something strangely mystical into like an absurdist space, and it opens up and it becomes really weird, and you're not sure where it can go, because the corners of mysticism are a bit bent, and they're interesting and they're curious, but they're also gray, and you're not sure where the actual line lies. And I think the fun with absurdity is that you think it's gray, but it's actually it's a straightforward line, and you're crossing a line when you're absurd. And I think that helped us to have this strange mysticism and these archetypal ideas and stories around absurd situations, because you can use them to make it literal, or you can use it to make it the opposite, and you're not sure where it goes. And that feeling is something when you're not sure where it goes, but you're invested in the characters. That's something I find really interesting. I think wo hi hum karte we came up with just ridiculous stories that are still obviously very close to my heart. Just say Man on a Black Horse. Love that play still. And obviously if I read it now I laugh at a little bit, some things.
It's Pakistan में लोग इस तरह से नहीं सोचते ना, devising, which is what you're talking about. That's not how a lot of scripts are created here. हमारे वो एक बाबा होता है जो बोलता है मैंने ये लिखा है और अब ये पत्थर की लकीर है. This collaborative space that a theater is meant to be. I think वो spirit लेकर बहुत कम काम होता है यहाँ पर. तो spirit के साथ अगर कोई काम हो और अच्छा काम हो, it will naturally stand out.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that, look, I think that a good challenge, a really good challenge that takes you to the absolute edge of what your capacity is, right? I think that's where it begins. That's where the work starts. And whether that means कि अगर आपको ज़्यादा गहराई में सोचना है, या that means कि आपको या तो स्टोरी के बारे में, किरदार के बारे में, अपने बारे, जो भी है, whatever, या किसी philosophical ideology के बारे में, जो भी है, either that way, or even if it's physical, if you have to push yourself to the point where you're really unsure how you're going to breathe your next bloody breath, and I think that's where you can really make something. And that's not something we're used to over here. We're not used to that. And I think a collaborative space, whether it is in theater or otherwise, is full of that challenge. And the point is कि उससे या तो लोग uncomfortable होते हैं उसके बारे में, या शायद थोड़े I don't know, maybe उनका कुछ core कोई compromise हो जाता है, या उनको लगता है कि this space isn't conducive to my aura, or whatever the hell that means. Maybe that's how people feel. I don't know.
It's you have to keep shit out of that space for that to be a collaborative safe space. And you're walking in with a giant ego, or you're walking in with road पे आप किसी को गालियाँ देते हुए आ रहे हैं, and you're still in that road rage mode, and you bring it into that space. तो वो space ख़राब हो जाती है. तो पहले तो आपको सांस लेके उस space में आना और space की इज्जत करना कि यार we're all equals here. It doesn't matter कि स्कूल का बच्चा है और मैं 30 साल से काम कर रहा हूँ. We're equally going to collaborate. That person might have an idea which is 10 times better than me, and I have to be open to that. Most people here are not ready for that.
No, they're not, which is disappointing, because ego has nothing to do with this process. Nothing. I understand that in time it builds up, but you need to kill it all the time. You need to make it's the same challenge, right? Because you go to the edge of your ego and you say, yaar, ye sahi nahi hai. And I think the identifying markers are all around you. They're in your relationships. They're in the people that you spend more time with. They're in the text messages that you choose to reply to. They're in the movies that you watch. They're in the clothes that you wear before you sleep, when nobody's looking at you, right? It's all there. So the signs are there. You can identify them fairly easily. And if you see them, that's it. That's where your challenge starts. Then it's like, okay, good. Now I have to kill this son of a, you know what, before I can. No, but really, I believe that that's a part of it. You have
to do that consciously, or ye ho gaya over time?
Killing
death.
Well, it's
substance-induced ego death.
No, I think that it's something that you have to do repeatedly.
No.
You have to do it repeatedly. You know, you can be successful at a little role in a play, and then the next time you walk into a rehearsal room, and if people remember that you were successful last time, it's very easy for you to fall into a trap, and for you to feel a little more important than you should feel. It's very easy to do that, but the difficult thing is to forget all that and say, इस किरदार का क्या मकसद है जो अभी मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ, right? उससे इसका क्या ताल्लुक है? नहीं है, तो उसको छोड़ दो, वो यहाँ नहीं है, वो आप 6 महीने पहले छोड़ चुके थे, दफ़ा करो उसको, ये नया है, इसको पकड़ो, शुरू से start करो. And you do that, and then maybe you're successful the second time if you're lucky, you know. And then what happens is you might get extra applause someday, and that's bad. You get extra applause, then you start expecting it. That's very dangerous, you know, and you shouldn't fall into that trap. That's a bad trap. And so you have to do it again and again.
दुनिया की सबसे अक्लमंदी आपने ये की है कि आप सोशल मीडिया से दूर हैं, because that exactly is the trap, and that most people fall into that and never recover. I mean, I've been in that trap for a long while myself,
Yeah. No, but I understand it too. There's no judgment in this, by the way. There's no judgment in this because I have faced a lot of criticism for not being on social media. A lot of criticism. How can you do this? You're an actor. How are you not on social media? I'm like, acting, social media. I'm not sure what the link is, but except for views or whatever.
It's अगर आपके यहाँ clarity हो ना कि मुझे क्या चाहिए, ठीक है. If you were sitting here and being like, यार मुझे पैसे चाहिए, मुझे पैसे नहीं मिल रहे, मुझे एक्टिंग के लिए एड्स करने मिल नहीं रहे,
यार मुझे पैसे चाहिए,
then I would have been like, हाँ तुम पागल हो, तुम सोशल मीडिया पे क्यों नहीं हो. But if you want to do work and you want to do good work, then वो पाथ नहीं है ना आपका जो बाकी पाथ ले रहे हैं. तो आपने अगर सुशी बनानी है और सब आके बोल रहे हैं कि यार बड़े तिक्के बिक रहे हैं, तिक्के की दुकान लगाओ, and you're seeing कि सड़क पे सबके तिक्के की दुकान है, but आपने नहीं बनाने ना तिक्के. You're very clear about that. So anybody who brings you any business plans कि यार डिमांड तिक्कों की इतनी बढ़ गई है, आपने वो बनाना ही नहीं है. So you're happy in your sushi store making your raw fish, even if not a lot of people are eating it.
I think the decision is something like that, na? The first thing in what you're saying is that there should be clarity कि आपको चाहिए क्या है, right? And I think maybe a part of me is somewhat clear about something I don't want, which is one step, I think, toward knowing what you want. So it's one step closer to figuring out what you want is when you know what you don't want. And then I think beyond that, aapko, there's some soul searching in the damn process. Uska aap kuch nahi kar sakte. And I think one of the questions is कि अच्छा अगर ये चीज़ जो भी वो चीज़ है अगर मेरे पास नहीं है, how do I feel about that? Let's just imagine a world in which I don't do this. How do I feel? Like, do I wake up okay? Do I not? Is everything worth it? And then you think about things like, okay, पैसों का क्या करना है? It's a vital, valid question. I have a family. It's not a joke. I need to put food on the table. So then, but then you have to be prepared कि compromise क्या चीज़ करनी और क्या नहीं करनी. I for a few years did farming, right? Because I just didn't want to let go of what I was doing in theatre. And I know कि theatre में से कुछ नहीं बनना था. In terms of finance, growth बहुत मिली, शुक्र है. दोस्त भी बहुत मिले, शुक्र है. And projects भी बहुत अच्छे मिले, शुक्र है. Money? No. Obviously, right? ये तो हमें पता है. So, if you're not getting money from there and you're not willing to compromise and go like, अच्छा, अब मैं ये कर लेता हूँ, ऐड एक करने की कोशिश कर लेता हूँ, जिसके लिए मुझे इंस्टाग्राम करना पड़ेगा, ये करना पड़ेगा. जब इतने फॉलोअर्स हो जाएंगे तो इनके पास जाऊँगा, इनसे ये बात करूँगा, वहाँ से ऐड निकल आएगा, एक ऐड निकल आएगा, उसके पैसे मैं यहाँ डाल के भी दूसरा तीसरा कुछ इतने लाइक्स बाय कर लेंगे, जो भी उसका सिस्टम होता है. If you're not willing to apply that system, then why ask the question? Why should I care? Why should I think about it? Okay, so I'm not thinking. Okay, what am I thinking about? Where can I compromise? Okay, where I can compromise is I'm rehearsing from, let's say, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. और बाकी slots available नहीं है दूसरे actors के, तो 11 a.m. से लेके 6 p.m. 7 p.m. तक what am I doing? How do I put that time to use? You know what I mean?
गाजर मूली.
Right, exactly. So if it's not that, and then you got, how can I switch? Okay, great. So if I wake up at about 4:35, and if I leave Karachi by 6, I can get to Thatta by 7:15, right? And I can work there from morning to afternoon, and then I can drive straight to rehearsal after that, and then I can rehearse till about 11 at night if I need. Then I can go sleep, and I can wake up at 5 and start again. And I did that for a few years. And I
did that for a few years.
Yeah. I think I did that 2017 and 2018, 2019, 2020. Yeah.
Did you have your farmlands?
No, this was a separate project from. It's my family we left that, So it wasn't a family thing. It was a very close family friend who had access to a place, and they were working on a project, and they said that, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be making much sense. And I was like, hang on a second, I can get involved and we can try and see. and they'd asked for my help at some point. I thought I'd check it out. मैं गया एक दिन check किया and I was like, I don't know. But then ये सवाल उठा ना फिर कि अच्छा अगर मैं यहाँ पे अपना focus डाल देता हूँ, यहाँ पे पैसे डाल देता हूँ या यहाँ पे मेहनत डाल देता हूँ तो यहाँ से कुछ शायद मिल जाए. And then maybe I can produce my own theatre. And I don't have to do ads and I don't have to do television to and I'm not criticizing anybody who does, but it's just not for me. You know, I can do my work the way I want, you know. And so why the hell not, you know?
That's smart, yeah. That's smart because आप जब उसमें फंस जाते हैं ना, I mean there are a lot of people who do ads who if you speak to they'll be like हाँ हमने अच्छा theatre अच्छा काम करना है. But I think when you get stuck in that rut, it's also hard to turn off that muscle and then turn on, अच्छा मेरा actor muscle है, ये मेरा drama muscle था. I think आप mix होत कर देते हैं उन दोनों चीज़ों का. I was talking to Mikal Hassan a few years back on the podcast and he said the same thing where he said कि जब आप jingles बना रहे होते हैं ना फिर आप music है वो नहीं बनाएंगे. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि आप 6 महीने जाएं और बोले मैं अब एड्स के लिए म्यूज़िक बना रहा हूँ और मैं कमर्शियल म्यूज़िक बना रहा हूँ और अब मैं अपने सोल के लिए बनाऊँगा. बिकॉज आप जो कर रहे होते हैं जहाँ फोकस लगा रहे होते हैं दैट्स व्हाट इट गिव्स बैक. एंड लाइक it didn't sink in completely because I was like, okay, Mikal can probably say this because I mean he's doing well in life, whereas for a new musician वो मजबूरियाँ हैं ना यार. आप गिटार बजा के अपना म्यूज़िक करके पैसे नहीं कमा सकते. So there is always that. But what you're saying is also true कि हर किसी को मुकम्मल जहाँ नहीं मिलता. You have to decide. You can't be like अच्छा ये Instagram model route भी चला जाऊँ और फिर good theatre route भी हो जाएगा और सारी चीज़ें हो जाएंगी.
I mean you can, but I don't know if you should. You know, I don't know if it'll work. I know it can't work for me. मेरी शायद तबीयत वैसी नहीं है या जो भी है. You know, I don't think I could do that. But what I can do.
I can't think of a single person who's doing both things well.
As in like the Insta and the other. Yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe that, you know, I don't know anybody who does it like that either. So I can't claim to know the alternative either, right? So I can't say necessarily. But what I do know is that if I had to push myself to wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. every morning, that's not easy either. You know, some people might find it easier to be on Instagram and take some nice pictures, right? So it's not easy to wake up at 5 and it's not easy to have that kind of discipline. It's not. You have to fight.
But what I'm saying is कि आपने अपने दिमाग को नहीं confuse किया. Like for instance, the muscles and the brain that you're using for farming has nothing to do with acting. It's nothing to do with theatre.
Yeah.
But people who wake up every day and then go to a drama shoot and do the drama acting, and then like 8 months later they're like, अच्छा अब हमें एक अच्छा play भी करना है. You've already trained yourself in a certain way how to act, and you're used to it कि अच्छा यार ये होगा इसमें रोना है ये करना है. You'll break. हाँ, the TV में इस तरह ही एक्टिंग होती है यार. इस सीन में रोना है, इस सीन में हंसना है.
Sure.
Even जो आपके फेमस एक्टर्स हैं उन्होंने डिसाइड किया हुआ है ये मेरे 12 मूड्स हैं और वो हर सीन में कौन सा मूड करना है. उस मोस्ट ड्रामाज में इसी हिसाब से हो रहा होता है. You can't just do that for 8 months, train your body, train your mind to do that, and then turn it all off and then be like, up, good theatre time.
I don't suppose that's easy at all. I don't think that's easy. I don't. And also, you know, इसमें एक और चीज़ है. इसमें ये है, in the theatre, at least जिस landscape में मैंने काम किया है, जिन लोगों के साथ मैंने काम किया theatre में, they're merciless, which is lovely. I love that about them. They don't care, and they shouldn't, what your last project was, how big you are, how small you are, you know, which, you know, hand do you wash with. Nobody cares. Right? Over there, किरदार की बात है. आप किरदार ला रहे हो नहीं ला रहे. You know, मेहनत कर रहे हो नहीं कर रहे. Have you lost the weight yet? Have you put on the weight yet? Have you done this yet? Have you done that? These are the questions we should be asking. And I think वो लोग जो भी 12 अपने moods पे function करते हैं उनके लिए तो बहुत मुश्किल होगा ये सब कुछ करना. Their lifestyle is also slightly different. So I don't think they can walk into a rehearsal room and then be told, okay, great, now you're a snake and you're hungry, so you have to be belly down on the floor, not care which side of your shirt is going where and whether your clothes tear or not, or whether your hair gets dirty or not, or whether there's dust in your mouth or not. And you have to slide across all these obstacles made of blocks जो हमने रास्ते में रखे हुए हैं, and your meal is across the room, and that meal happens to be another human being that's rolled into a ball that's not allowed to move or breathe and just has to hold their breath till this person gets there, and you have to get there before they run out of breath, so they have maybe a few minutes of life left, and you have to make it there. And we literally do this. We will literally do it. This is not a joke, you know. So do you see any of those people with 12 moods lying down on their belly and pretending to be a hungry snake and slithering across a floor which is full of dust and shite and parson ki khairabad wali chai and, you know, chutney?
Even if they're willing to, they can't, right? Like, let's say if you're doing a play like Equus and you're in that energy every single day, and then beach rehearsals you're like, अच्छा 2 दिन मैंने जाना है, लक्स की शूट करके आना है. आप नहीं कर सकते, मतलब नहीं, आप, it's not humanly possible कि आप, if you've put and we'll get into your process, but if you've put yourself into the shoes and that's the character you're thinking about daily and that's on your mind, and then you go and do an ad in Thailand for a couple of days where you're dancing, and then you come back and get back, नहीं हो सकता ये चीज़.
You live by the sword, you die by the sword.
वापस आपकी जर्नी में चलते हैं. मैं प्रोसेस में आना चाहूँगा.
जी.
Why did Theatre of the Absurd speak to you so much? शुरू से ही, बचपन से इतना absurdist क्यों भाई? क्या बचपन में कभी प्यार हुआ?
I think it had a very charming way of asking the right questions. Doesn't that sound snooty? It sounds very snooty.
Self-awareness, 10 on 10.
Yes. I think absurdist themes, they're all very tender human experiences, and they're sensitive places, and it's not easy to go there, and you can go there dramatically and you can go there with a lot of emotion and things like that, but absurdism kind of reaches into that sense of not having meaning and big questions, and it kind of shits on it and comes back. So it's like it's consistently taking the piss, you know. And we all like, what's his name? What the hell is his name? Who did Snatch? What's his name?
The director, Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie takes the piss out of everything. He just takes the piss out of everything. And so does McDonough, by the way. Just takes the piss out of everything. And that's a lot of fun, right? You can venture into very serious territory, very serious philosophical territory, but you don't have to commit to playing the part of the philosopher in that territory. You can nudge it and move along. And that's what I find charming about it, is that it deals with very big, the question of meaning is something that plagues us all the time, right? But you don't have to carry it on your back like a bloody mission. You can just laugh it off and move on. So I think that's one of the things about that kind of work that just,
I think it probably also really speaks to you in a Pakistani context, because in an increasingly meaningless world,
yes,
people have attributed a lot of meaning to things that actually don't have as much meaning, and हम एक cult की तरह उसमें बस meaning add करके follow कर रहे होते हैं. So to laugh at that, I think Tarantino also in many places.
Oh yes, and that's the irony that I really enjoy. I'm sure you enjoy too. You know, is that you can laugh at it. It's so stupid. You can laugh at it, and you can laugh at yourself as well. And you can't take yourself that seriously. You really can't. You know, where you kind of hold it like a cross, and you know, bear your burden, but you bear it in the most like shameless way. That's ridiculous, right? That I think you lose out on humility, and you lose out on truth and honesty, and then everything just becomes about a sense of meaning that you're striving toward needlessly. It becomes boring then.
जब आपने Beckett किया था, you did it with Faris, right?
Yeah.
So Zia साहब ने जब डायरेक्ट किया था,
yeah.
Did you do it as comedians? Because हम Beckett को यहाँ बहुत एक serious संजीदगी से करते हैं, और लिखा हुआ भी ट्रांसलेशन काफ़ी संजीदगी से, तो उसमें ह्यूमर इतना शाइन थ्रू नहीं करता जो कि करना चाहिए. I mean, people like Steve Martin, Robin Williams, John Goodman, they've all done the play and they've done it as clowns, and I think in many ways Beckett also intends to be done like that. How did you guys approach it, or what was Zia Saab's idea about it?
I think that he was I think he wasn't married to the idea of them being clowns. I think he didn't want us to be that in an obvious way. I think they're two tramps that are, you know, in this absurd situation, and the situation itself is absurd. So to play it absurd is a double whammy that is unnecessary. I think it needs to be played. This is what I thought, and I think that Ghias pretty much was on the same wavelength. I have to think back and remember, but I believe that was the case, that you play it as it is. Play it straightforward. Don't overdo it, because when you start playing the clown doing a clowny thing, it becomes like
melodramatic na kare.
हाँ बिल्कुल. That's something that
play it truthfully.
One thing Ghias did teach me is he taught me the value of grit without displaying emotion. So you don't, there's that bit in the end, that monologue, Didi's, from a bitter something to the grave. I forget what that monologue is. And that monologue on one of the nights, it did hit me a little harder than I thought it would. And I do remember feeling like I can feel like I can emote right now. I feel like I'm closer to tears than I would have been a few minutes ago. But I learned ke keep it in. Don't let it out. And that creates an interesting dynamic, because as an audience, I think, I could be wrong, but I think कि आप उस किरदार के नज़रिए से देख रहे हैं, आपको महसूस भी हो रहा है कि उसको क्या महसूस हो रहा है, आपको लग रहा है तो emotions वही आप में हैं जो उनमें है, but he's not letting it out. And you feel bad for him not letting it out, so you tend to let it out, which maybe takes you a step further than him in some sense, in terms of participating in the play as an audience. But I remember I had to exercise a lot of refrain there, so I do know that it wasn't melodramatic. That's something we avoided, very, very strictly avoided. But neither was it the complete opposite, in that it wasn't cartoony. It wasn't showy. It stayed dry. Similar to the writing, it kind of stayed dry throughout. Not in a boring way, hopefully. Not in a boring way, but it stayed dry. Lekin, it had its moments of,
levity.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
Did you do it in English or Urdu?
English.
Chalo, bach gaye. Because I think Urdu translation में ये pitfalls
मैंने translation पढ़ी नहीं है, और मैं थोड़ा डरता हूँ उस translation को पढ़ने से. मुझे नहीं पता कि किसने किया है, and I think I know who would have translated it, and then I'm not sure if I'd like to read it. But it's already from French to English, right?
नहीं, I think Beckett अंग्रेजी में ही लिखा.
He wrote it in French first, and then he himself wrote it in English. Yeah. So it's already gone from one filter in his mind to the next.
It's still the writer's filter, right? I mean, it's still Beckett.
Right. And so I don't know if, I think he was responsible enough for it, and he did it very well. And I don't know if we need to touch it beyond that, and try and alter it, especially a play like that, because
लोग बहुत मुझसे नाराज होंगे. बट मैंने आज तक कोई अच्छी ट्रांसलेशन किसी प्ले की नहीं पढ़ी उर्दू में.
Really?
नहीं. I think people have murdered Shakespeare.
Okay, that way.
Yeah.
Sunil translated.
Actually, Equus बहुत अच्छा था.
He did it. Nazar and him did that, which was commendable. I mean, it's very good. I think it was a good translation. There was also the other one that we just did.
But उसमें भी अगर वो
Glenn Ross. Sorry.
But नजर साहब नहीं होते तो बड़ी मुश्किल होती है. That's a really difficult character to play.
That is a very difficult character to play.
And in Urdu it became even wordier. And वो नजर साहब ने कर लिया. वरना वो बहुत मुश्किल होता.
Nazar is Nazar. You know what I mean? There is not anybody like Nazar. And I don't think there can be. He's something else. So वो बात है कि नज़र था तो नज़र था. नज़र जब होता है तो नज़र तब नज़र होता है, और आता भी है. But Glenn Ross जो सुनील ने translate किया है,
नहीं पढ़ा.
That's a really interesting translation.
Yeah.
Really nice.
यार, I feel
Sunil, if you see this, then just send it over to Shehzad, please.
I feel like the idea of what a translation is, especially at Napa, they're very stuck in this idea of authenticity, which I feel like never exists if you're translating. Essentially, all translation is an adaptation. You can't not put yourself in the translation. So in an effort to be transliteral about it, they often lose out on what the play is about because they're so focused on literally what this line means कि वो ethos जो है वो ही चला जाता है उसका. So I would much prefer people do adaptations where they're a lot more clear about कि हम अपनी दुनिया में कर रहे हैं, अपने तरीके से कर रहे हैं, and the writer shines through in that. That's I feel like that's a much better route to take as opposed to this veneer of objectivity and authenticity which cannot exist. How can you do Romeo and Juliet in Urdu and think okay, we've stayed true to the original? You can't. It's just it's simply impossible.
I'm mostly behind you on this one.
Strap pe. Equus, how was that experience?
Good. It was
good. Chalim, let's move on to the next.
No, sorry.
Next play.
No, it was
Waiting for Godot. How was that experience?
Fun.
Next review. कल आपने Food Panda का delivery कितने stars था?
Equus was. I'm trying to find the. उस वक्त तक biggest challenge. 2017 we did it. Till 2017, that was my biggest challenge. It was a boy. I think I was about 30 at the time, and he was 17. And that SOB will always be 17, you know. So I don't know if I can ever go back for that, which I'd like to, and do it better. But the first thing was finding out how to do that. Just how to, even physically to do that. To feel and look and behave 17 when you're clearly not. I don't think I was feeling very 17 at the time. I was feeling quite lost at the time, so it was fairly easy for me to say that even that kind of feeling lost, generally speaking, makes you look and feel a little older than you should be.
I don't think it took away from the performance because now I'm remembering it.
No, I'm hoping it didn't because I had to work hard on de-aging, and that was a rehearsal process where we had to figure out what does this boy want and why, and I mean, where was he going to go if he doesn't get what he wants? You know, how far is he going to go? And then to make it believable that this is the boy who did this. There was 6 or 7 horses or whatever they blind. उसको justify करना कोई आसान बात नहीं है. Even अगर खेल में ऐसी line लिखी भी नहीं है कि ये इसलिए इसने किया है या पूरी situation वैसी नहीं है. You have to feel it throughout at least that's what I think is an act. You have to feel it throughout from the beginning to the end. You should be capable of that. Maybe people shouldn't know it. They shouldn't expect कि अच्छा यही वो कर सकता था or whatever. But you should know in some sense within yourself what you did and how you did it. And finding a place in my mind to believe that was not easy. And see, that comes from that thought, right? Is if I can't fool myself, I can't fool you.
Yep.
So if I don't believe I've done what the character says I'm doing, why would you believe it? Why? You know, because I know how to read? No. You know, you believe other things. You don't just believe the lines. You believe an actor for where their eyes are. You believe them for how they carry themselves. You believe them for, I don't know, the mood they're in, whatever. But that's the believable thing about a play or about a character. And to make that believable, especially with something like Equus, you have to go to a weird place in your mind. And you have to go quite far. And I think if Sunil wasn't directing it, it probably wouldn't have been possible. Because he believes that too.
He's a phenomenal director. I think Equus probably one of the best, if not the best.
Lovely director.
Theatre. I think Napa pe I haven't seen a better production.
I don't.
Equus se behtar nahi dekha maine koi.
Well, no, I don't know. I was in it. I didn't.
It's phenomenal.
You know. Thank you. No, Sunil is a very, 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 very passionate, dedicated madman. Is what he is. You know. And but he's also like one of the most empathetic people I know, so there's that too. लेकिन जितनी मेहनत वो आदमी करता है और जिस हद तक वो आदमी जाने को तैयार है और जिस हद तक वो आपको ले जाएगा you know, with or without your permission, you know,
थोड़ा कंसीडर लगता है मेरा भी कहना, क्योंकि मैंने कई साल यही काम किया है, बट शायद दुनिया की सबसे मुश्किल जॉब थिएटर डायरेक्टर ही है, बिकॉज यू हैव टू,
one of them for sure, yeah,
you have to put yourself in all the roles, because if you can't see it, I can't make you see it, right? If you're acting in it, मुझे ही नहीं नजर आ रहा, मुझे ही नहीं पता, तो मैं आपको कैसे बता सकता हूँ? So you have to do all that work, and in many ways it's a little thankless, because people are like, यार अली ने बहुत अच्छा किया, नजर ने बहुत अच्छा किया, but सुनील का जो काम था to make it all happen, मे बी वो डायरेक्टर का इतना क्रेडिट नहीं मिलता जितना मिलना चाहिए, एटलीस्ट इधर. बाहर तो इट्स एवरीबडी नोज थिएटर इज द डायरेक्टर्स शो.
या नो, आई एग्री विद यू ऑन द फैक्ट, ऑन द पॉइंट के जितनी अप्रिसिएशन मिलनी चाहिए थिएटर के डायरेक्टर को यहाँ पे वो नहीं मिलती. एंड सुनील जिस किस्म का डायरेक्टर है, आई हैवंट मेट अ बेटर थिएटर डायरेक्टर देन हिम, एंड आई हैवंट yet worked with anybody that works like Sunil does. You know, he's another guy who lives by the sword and dies by the sword. He'll go, he's ready for war all the time, you know, and he's committed, and he's an absolute fighter, and he's an absolute beast. Kaam pe bhi and otherwise too, he's a monster, and I'd kill for that guy.
Maybe Equus is a good play to go into the process. आपके पास आई script. What do you do?
What did you did?
What do you do? Why you did it? How you did? Come on, tell.
Sunil called me and he said कि यार आ जाओ मिल लो, ये है मैं ये करना चाह रहा हूँ, करोगे नहीं करोगे, और तुम्हें 2 चीज़ें करनी पड़ेंगी. क्या करना पड़ेगा? उसने कहा तुम्हें बाल कटवाने पड़ेंगे. I used to keep my hair quite long. बाल कटवाने पड़ेंगे, और दूसरा तुम्हें क्या कहते हैं,
6 पैक बनाना पड़ेगा,
वेट लूज करना पड़ेगा. मैंने कहा अच्छा, इंटरेस्टिंग, वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. मैंने कहा चलो आ जाओ. फिर हम मिले एंड वी रेड इट, और फिर आई थिंक पहली चीज़ ये थी, वो मुझे ये आई थिंक प्रोसेस में डालना चाह रहा था कि the why of the character, right? Not the what is written on the page, the how is also written on the why is something that's a bit mysterious. And there are theories on it. You know, the mother is at fault, the father is at fault, the girl in the barn is at fault, he himself is at fault. So all of these things are there, but his thing was to figure out how each of those whys can affect Alan. And I think मेरे लिए एक चीज़ ये होती है, and I don't know, I can't say this with like 100% assurance because I don't know yet, but I can say that अभी तक मेरे लिए एक चीज़ ये होती है जिसकी बहुत value है. I need some kind of immediate change, something to change right away. If I decide कि okay, this is the project I want to do, something needs to change right now, and I don't know what it is. Maybe I have to shave my head. Maybe I have to change my routine, but something that doesn't feel normal, something that puts me in a state where I feel explorative. And sometimes the script is enough and sometimes it isn't. So us process ke liye, I think the first thing was the food that I had to give up. So I just started fasting, and I would just have I did the stupid thing, right, where I'd have subah mein coffee or shaam mein ek seb, and that's it.
All day. That's it.
And when you're in a state of hunger like that, you can come up with some really fun things, I think अगर आप अपनी बॉडी को एक अजीब सी जगह पे ले जाते हैं, अगर आप अपनी बॉडी को इस तरह चैलेंज कर लेते हैं, इंतहाई like uncomfortable situation में डाल देते हैं उसको, something happens. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to tell you what it is, but something happens. That really helped. At least it put my mind in a space where I could I felt I felt like very contemplative in a strange way, but in an edgy way, in a childish way, because the first thing that happens when you're hungry is you get cranky, right? So har baat pe don't talk to me. So you feel edgy and you feel strange, but at the same time you know why you're doing it and all of that stuff. So you're in a weird mix of places, So pehli cheez ye thi iske, put the food aside and let's see what happens. And then weight cut ke process mein, to like just keep that script next to the bed all the time, just read and read and read and read and read. And I would try and make a conscious effort to not read my lines. I try and make a conscious effort to read everybody else's lines, because वो script की जो दुनिया है वो it's not just confined to आपका किरदार ना, वो पूरा का पूरा एक वो जाला है जिसको आपने संभालना है. And everybody has some archetypal role to play in the whole thing. And to understand how to be in it, you have to understand that world, I think, as an actor from the outside at least. तो बाकी सबकी लाइनें ये मार्टिन डिसार्ट जो भी है उसकी, I focused a lot on the world he was talking about, because he was talking about a lot to do with Alan in all the storytelling he does. And I think the emotionality of it was that magistrate that would show up also. I forget uska naam kya tha. And then there was the relationship with the mother and the father, and then the girl, because the loss of innocence is also something that was very heavy in Alan's personality. So I think ye दूसरी चीज़ थी, is just to read it all the time and read all the other characters and try and understand them very well. और उसके बाद I think फिर रिहर्सल शुरू हो चुके थे. मुझे सिर्फ 1 महीना मिला था बाकी सारी कास्टिंग से पहले, क्योंकि मुझे ज़्यादा टाइम चाहिए था to drop the weight and to do all of that. तो वो मैंने सब कुछ कर लिया था तब तक, एज इन प्रोसेस स्टार्ट कर लिया था तब तक. और उसके आई थिंक 2nd month में हमने रीडिंग शुरू की थी. आई थिंक नज़र भी 2nd month में ही किसी वक्त आया था. पहले कोई और था, मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा कौन था, लेकिन पहले नज़र की जगह में कोई और था. एंड वो टाइम नहीं था उनके पास, या वो आई थिंक वो इतनी लंबी कमिटमेंट कर नहीं पा रहे थे. तो फिर शुक्र है नज़र ने कहा कि हाँ मैं कर लेता हूँ. नज़र आया एंड देन वी स्टार्टेड. और बाकी सब तो ये था कि वही वाला सवाल, the why of it. I think Sunil, one of the most important things for him to figure out is the why. And so he needed something to happen with his body and with his something to do with his spirit. Something had to have, I don't know what it was, but we put each other through a lot of stress to figure out how that can happen. And तो वो उनका process शुरू हुआ रिहर्सल का, वही little games and things, to walk around blindly, etc. etc. You know what all those little games are. तो वो कर करके experiment with something every day, whether that means 2 very large men beating the shit out of me, which also happened, and to figuring out how to get his voice in my mind. And I think यही करते करते प्रोसेस फिर स्टार्ट हो गया था. तब तक घोड़े भी थे हमारे पास, जो सुबह में हम 6-7 बजे आकर उनके साथ ट्रेनिंग करते थे सुबह में, और फिर दोपहर में रिहर्सल करते थे. फिर एक कूल डाउन पीरियड या वो होता था, फिर एक और वर्कआउट होता था आई थिंक. उसके बाद हम घर चले जाते थे. बट सुबह से शाम तक ये था. एंड यू हैव टू लिव इट. सो पार्ट ऑफ द प्रोसेस इज जस्ट लिविंग इट. यू हैव टू. अगर आप उसी चीज़ से आ रहे हैं ना कि how do I convince you if I can't convince myself, अगर आप वहाँ से आ रहे हैं तो फिर आपको फिर सब कुछ देने को तैयार होना चाहिए, वरना you can't get there. So
लोगों को ये नहीं पता कि आपको एक्टिंग में सब कुछ देना है, कास्टिंग में सब कुछ नहीं देना.
No comment.
गलत जगह लोग फोकस कर रहे हैं रोल्स के लिए यहाँ पर. घोड़े चाहिए. अच्छा चलें आगे नहीं पढ़ता मैं कुछ.
थैंक यू. ये आपकी मिस प्रोनाउंसिएशन नोट की गई है. थैंक यू.
देखिए राइम तो फिर कुछ भी हो सकता है ना, अगर बंदा बोल सके तो. I've spoken to a lot of actors and कभी कभी I just roll my eyes because I'm sure you've heard this a lot, where वो एक फ्रॉड फील आती है. लाइक मैं मेथड एक्टिंग में नहीं बिलीव करता, मेरा उसमें वो नहीं है. एंड लिटरली आई एम लाइक अच्छा होती क्या है मेथड एक्टिंग, उनका उसके पास जवाब नहीं होता. आई गेट दैट देयर इज दिस मॉकरी ऑफ मेथड एक्टिंग एज वेल व्हिच जेरेड लेटो ने जो जोकर के लिए किया था, दैट्स रिडिकुलस राइट. समटाइम्स इट जस्ट गोज टू फार, बट वो उसको बहुत ही कैरी कैचर कर देते हैं कि ये तो मैं नहीं करता. बट व्हाट यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, जब तक आप उसकी स्किन पहनेंगे नहीं, एंड यस यू डिस्कवर दैट कैरेक्टर योरसेल्फ एज वेल. इट्स नॉट अबाउट कि एलन का कैरेक्टर कहीं एग्जिस्ट करता है और आप ढूंढ लेंगे. नहीं, आप कहाँ एलन से मिलेंगे और आपका पोर्ट्रेयल बनेगा. इफ समबडी डज इट डिफरेंटली, डजंट मीन दे आर डूइंग इट रॉन्ग. 6 people can do it 6 different ways and they're all valid, but at least you've done the work to get there, right? At least if I sit you down and be like acha kya hai, so you can justify it and have that conversation, which most people can't. So what's your take on people who just make a mockery of the whole idea of Stanislavski or method acting?
Well, I think the point is that you do what it takes. Yeah. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what my boundaries of that are. Obviously, there are ethical and moral boundaries, absolutely. But within a safe space, what are the boundaries? How far? What does it matter? You know, like it's weird enough that हम किसी और के लफ्ज़ जो हैं वो एक कागज़ पे पढ़ के हम सोचते हैं कि अब सब खेल करके यहाँ सब खड़े होंगे, तुम उसकी लाइनें कहना, मैं उसकी लाइनें कहूँगा, और फिर हम इस तरह से जो है ना बिलीव करवा देंगे लोगों के हम ये कर रहे हैं. I mean, that's nonsense. What are you doing? It's all so strange anyway. What's the problem with going the rest of the way and making it believable? What's the problem? I mean, hello, we're all sitting backstage, हम सब मेकअप लगाने वाले हैं, हम सब वो कपड़े पहनने वाले हैं जो हमारे नहीं हैं, हम जूते पहनेंगे जो हमारे नहीं हैं, हम हेयर स्टाइल बड़े मज़े के बनाएंगे, या गंजे हो जाएंगे, या बाल लंबे करेंगे, या विग पहन लेंगे, या चश्मे पहन लेंगे, पाइप पकड़ लेंगे, मूछें बढ़ा देंगे, कुछ ना कुछ तो. I mean, ये सब अजीब नहीं है. If all this is happening, then why stop at that? Why? You know, then just do the rest of it too, which is okay. अगर मैं कर ही रहा हूँ या कर ही रही हूँ तो फिर पूरा करें फिर, you know. So a lot of people do roll their eyes at it, and fine, that's okay. Maybe that's not their process, okay. But do they know how far they need to go? I don't know. Because एक ये भी चीज़ है ना, some people बहुत naturally चीज़ें कह देते हैं स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ के, and that sounds good and it looks good, you know. Some people can just do that. Great, good, do it. I don't know कब उनका प्रोसेस ख़त्म होता है, in the sense कि I don't know जब वो ऐसे रोल से टकरेंगे जहाँ पे उन लोगों को कहीं आगे जाना पड़ेगा या नहीं जाना पड़ेगा. I don't know अगर ऐसा होता है या नहीं होता उनके साथ, या अगर हुआ है तो हमने देखा नहीं है. I don't know. For that matter, I don't know Jared Leto ने क्या किया. I know what was reported. I know कि जो चीज़ें हम पढ़ रहे थे, I wasn't there. I don't know what the hell he was doing. यार, you know, I don't know. Literally क्या है? Maybe सबसे जो absurd चीज़ है वो हमें सुनने को मिलती है.
Of course.
और या पढ़ने को मिलती है. I don't know कि उसके इर्द गिर्द क्या चल रहा था या क्या था क्या नहीं था. So I don't know a lot of these things. But what I do know is that you go as far as you have to go. So if that means you can roll your eyes and get away with it, good for you. Do it. You know, if you can cut and then start laughing and talking to people, good. You know, once they say scene and the rehearsal's over, and you can turn around and have a bite of kebab roll and you can fart in the corner, good. Do it. If it works for you, do it. But do what works. You know, find it.
Did you hear that audio leak jo I think Christian Bale ka hua tha, where he loses his shit and people are like, that's so rude, and I was like, sahi to keh raha hai.
Well, मतलब not only सही कह रहा है, but आपने उसको बहुत सारे millions of dollars दिए हैं एक किरदार को बनाने के, और वो किरदार अगर आपने वो फिल्म देखी भी है, although I don't quite like it, I think it was Terminator or something ridiculous like that. Terminator Salvation or something.
Christian Bale though?
हाँ, he was in one of them. He was in one of them. I think he was one of those. And very angsty character and all that stuff. So you can expect him to yell a little bit. हाँ, don't threaten to hit people. That's probably not a good idea. Don't yell at your DP. That's not wise.
I mean, it's wrong, you know? But I understand कि आपने अगर इतनी मेहनत करके आप उस पॉइंट पे पहुंचे हैं, and like emotionally you're in that place.
Yeah.
light खराब हो जाए, you're just like यार मतलब don't.
Yeah. नहीं, I think the DP was going to fix the light repeatedly. उसकी eyeline में आ रहा था या ऐसा कुछ था, पता नहीं क्या था.
साइड स्क्रीन में जैसा क्रिकेट में होता है ना.
I don't know, but you know that's the point that I don't think what he did was right, but like you said, I understand it.
Yeah.
You know, it's sometimes weird to me that when you are when you do आप स्टेज से उतरे या lights off हुई on हुई and people are appreciating, being respectful, applauding and all that stuff, और आप edge पे आकर मुस्कुरा कर जी कर, you know, yes, thank you very much. I don't understand how. I don't know. Maybe I'm not good enough to do that, but I don't know how to do that, because as soon as it ends, I don't know how to turn it off, so I'll fade it out in however long it takes. But the point is the same, is that do what it takes.
Yeah.
You know, don't like, it's easier for me to say कि यार आप लोग कैरेक्टर में होते नहीं हो तो आप कौन हो, और इट्स easier for them to say कि बहुत
आप कहना तो यही चाह रहे हैं उनको. आप देखें जो दिल में बात है आज वो कहते हैं ना. अगर हुमायूं भाई ये सुन रहे हैं.
Did you watch The Crown?
नहीं.
You didn't?
नहीं.
ये latest season आपने देखा?
नहीं, बट उसमें तो वो मेथड एक्टिंग कर रहे हैं. वो रोल तो उन्होंने काफी दफा कई साल से उस रोल के लिए तैयारी कर रहे हैं. हुमायूं भाई
नो कमेंट. हुमायूं भाई नो कमेंट.
हुमायूं भाई माइंड नहीं करते, इसलिए मैंने उनका नाम लिया. ही इज एक्चुअली हमारी इंडस्ट्री में वन ऑफ द बेटर एक्टर्स, बिकॉज ही अंडरस्टेटेड एक्टर है जिसकी वजह से उनको मौके आ जाता है. बट आई थिंक दैट वर्क्स फॉर अ लॉट ऑफ हिज रोल्स बिकॉज इट्स रिटन फॉर हिम.
Yeah.
For him to be understated and shit to happen around him, and I think that works great for Humayun Singh.
No, if that's what works, then that's the point.
नहीं, मुझे कवर भी तो करना है ना, अगर वो सुन ले तो करने देना, तारीफें थोड़ी नहीं
आपकी.
मैंने मुझे भी आप नहीं चाहते यार भाई फिल्म में मैं भी रोल करूँगा.
मैं आपके साथ ही हूँ, आप करें.
आप जो बात कर रहे हैं, बेन प्लैट ने भी यही कही थी. डियर एवन हैंसन ब्रॉडवे पे हो रहा था, एंड पीपल लाइक ये कितना रूड आदमी है, ही डजंट कम आउटसाइड फॉर पिक्चर्स आफ्टर. And then he was like, भाई आप वो रोल देखें, where I go on stage, मतलब I have to, for the next 4-5 hours, I have to be alone just to get out of that.
Yeah. You know, it's वो भी कहते हैं ना हमारे बड़े साहब Daniel Day-Lewis, you know, I'm wearing shoes that aren't mine, I'm wearing clothes that aren't mine, I'm speaking in a voice that's not my own, you know. So what does it matter what I do? You know, what does it matter how far I have to go?
Yeah.
Fair point, my friend. I mean,
yeah, he says क्या मुझे लिंकन बोलें आप सेट पर.
आप मुझे लिंकन बोलें, आप मुझे डैनियल प्लेनव्यू बोलें, आप मुझे जो भी है बोलें. If that's what he needs.
So good. And yes, thank you for all the comments. The movie Rasti and I couldn't think of was There Will Be Blood.
Yes.
Literally,
I saw it and
6 comments.
I was
screaming at the screen. I said it during the podcast that there's somebody watching this who's screaming at the screen.
The 6th minute somewhere, it was me. I was screaming at the screen.
काफी लोगों ने comment किया था. And yes, shame on me. Yes, I should have known.
No, you don't need to be shamed, but it was There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
It was There Will Be Blood.
So, वो जो आप बात कर रहे हैं, यस मे बी जो ऑडियंस बैठी हुई है वो पिक नहीं करेगी. अच्छा ये उसकी स्किन में है, इस तरह नहीं लोग बात करते. बट दे वॉक आउट विद दिस बिलीवेबल नहीं था. व्हाट डज दैट मीन, राइट? व्हेन एन ऑडियंस मेंबर सेज बिलीवेबल नहीं था, दे विल नेवर बी एबल टू पिन पॉइंट ऐसे लाइन में क्या मसला था, ये था. बट वो एक अंदर से यकीन नहीं आता देख कर जो आपको आ जाता है. यू मेंशन क्रिश्चियन बेल, राइट? यू सी पैट्रिक बेटमैन, लाइक हाँ ये है, ये मर्डर करता है. एंड इट्स नॉट लाइक ही इज प्लेइंग इट क्रेजी. आई थिंक द ट्रैप actors fall into, especially in Pakistan, is कि कोई murderer
to play it crazy, right?
To play it crazy.
Yeah.
To play it crazy.
That is a legitimate trap. It's a very dangerous trap.
Yeah, like Patrick Bateman का वो जो scene है, वो जो कार्ड देता है उसको, and the font is better. American Psycho में.
हाँ बिल्कुल मुझे याद है.
Dude, he's just like it's in his eyes कि ये कैसे इसने मेरे से बेहतर font का कार्ड बनाया हुआ है. And even though there's a lot of narration, so you understand where the character is coming from. But you believe Patrick Bateman. You believe it. मतलब उस आदमी ने लिटरली बैटमैन इस तरह प्ले किया, वी लाइक हाँ आई बिलीव इट.
हाँ ये होगा ऐसा. ये करता है.
Yeah, I mean I think is it has to be the best portrayal of Batman. Has to be. नहीं? Yeah, no. Has to be.
It's definitely one of the best. It's definitely one of the best.
I thought Affleck actually did a good job. But कौन है और? Pattinson did a good Bruce Wayne. वो party boy लग रहा था.
I actually liked Pattinson quite a bit.
But I think it was like the Bruce Wayne, he had it down.
I think he had both down. I think his all. I think the point was that he was figuring out what the alter ego was. He didn't know how to put it off or put it on. I think that was the point of the film, is that he didn't know when he wasn't supposed to be that.
Would he be able to do the Rises wala? I'm not sure. I think the Rises is not the best movie. The Joker wali, Beach wali is the best movie. Mm-hmm. But that time Bale spends in the pit, I think Bale does a great job.
No, he does. But I feel that Pattinson could do it. I think he could.
Maybe, ma'am.
You don't like Twilight? Is that the problem?
Maybe I'm holding Twilight against him. But Kristen Stewart bhi bahut अच्छी acting कर रही है अब. So maybe I should.
Really? I feel very differently about her. But again, that's just me. With Pattinson, there was one called Good Time that he did recently as well. A few years ago, 2016. I thought he was the only good thing in Tenet, to be honest.
समझ नहीं है ना आपको?
Pattinson. हाँ, मेरा दिमाग छोटा है.
think किसी को नहीं आई. मुझे भी नहीं आई थी.
नहीं, I think Nolan just kind of, he got a bit self-indulgent. Yeah. And he lost it.
But I'm super excited about
lost the ball somewhere.
Oppenheimer.
Cillian Murphy is somebody that excites me anyway.
Yeah. मैंने नहीं देखा Peaky Blinders, so I have no idea.
You should watch it.
Yeah.
You should watch it.
Yeah,
it's quite amazing.
Okay, let me put it this way. The kind of people who are obsessed with Peaky Blinders are not people I like. Which is why maybe I'm holding that against the show.
You seem to be.
But the people who like Peaky Blinders, I don't like them.
I understand.
I don't like the show.
I understand. But give it a chance.
Achha.
Give it a chance. It's very well written. Stephen Knight's a good writer. Yeah. You can't take away from that. He's a good writer. And Cillian Murphy is a very, very dangerous actor. He's a very, very competent actor. And वो show एक तो लिखा बहुत अच्छा है, performed बहुत अच्छा है, and it's made with a lot of spunk. You know what I mean? Really, really nice show. So if I were you, I'd check it out.
How do you watch things for entertainment? Because I feel like मेरे लिए बहुत मुश्किल होता है ये.
I understand.
Technically देख रहा होता हूँ चीजें अच्छी, ये किसने की क्या की. Literally मैं नोटबुक खोल के बैठ जाता हूँ.
हाँ, ये है मसला, ये है. लेकिन I think at some point, depending on what I'm watching, I haven't seen something interesting in. जैसे Tar is something I want to watch. मैंने देखी नहीं है अभी तक, लेकिन जी बहुत चाह रहा है देखने का. But I just really loved watching the first episode of, for example, Last of Us. And I watched it purely, I was entertained. I was entertained throughout.
That's what I crave, which is why I love musical theatre. Because my brain बंद कर सकता हूँ. And I'm just like, oh my god, so much is happening. I love musical theatre. Because मेरा skill भी zero है. So I know I'll never be able to do it.
Really? Have you tried?
I can't sing to save my life.
Neither can I. No, but you should try it.
A whole new world. I've tried directing it and it was a disaster.
Was it?
हमने कोशिश की थी अलादीन करने की, बहुत बुरा हुआ था.
कब?
बहुत बुरा हुआ था.
कहाँ पे?
लम्स में.
Yeah. अच्छा.
हाँ.
Really? And you didn't like it? You didn't have fun with it?
I mean, yeah. It's just we tried doing it with like very few resources. So that in itself proved to be a disaster. Because for a musical, it needs to be a bit magical, especially something like Aladdin.
No, I mean, it should bloody well be magical.
So वो एक school theatre feel आ गई थी, तो काफी बुरा हुआ था. फिर मैं कभी वापस approach नहीं किया, but I'm a huge Hamilton fan. Like I'm a geek.
I did watch that.
Did you watch it on Broadway?
No, I watched it at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
As somebody who saw it.
You did?
Lynn ने tickets भेजी थी मुझे, तो मैं गया था.
Of course.
It's actually a true story.
Lynn, he sent you tickets?
He sent my theatre department tickets. So I was a student there.
How nice is
that? So फिर हमारे theatre department. And this was when it was at the Public, pre-Broadway.
Really?
Yes. So I went and saw it with the original cast at the Public in New York. Mic drop.
Well done. I'm happy for you. That's good.
That was insane, right? Like watching Hamilton live was insanity because it's just, you're just amazed. Like your thinking part of your brain's off. You're just enjoying it and it's pure joy.
Yeah, when I watched the video of it, I was obviously very entertained and I really enjoyed the production. Usme wo cheezein in terms of, the things that we are somehow maybe conditioned to, like characterization and this and that and all those things. That is because I don't know if how much room a musical or maybe a musical like that has for those things. For the
maybe I feel like Leslie Odom Jr. does the best job. Aaron Burr.
I'll have to see his face to remember.
The black guy.
Okay.
The one with the best voice.
Yeah, sure.
Essentially, he's the lead. Hamilton's
sure.
not the lead.
Yeah. Sure.
He's phenomenal at emoting while singing as well, right?
Yes. Maybe you have to be that good for it to be that good. Yeah.
Wait for it. Agar aapne suna hai, you can like
just
have to hear the song and you're there. You believe him.
Yeah.
Wait for it. Maybe I should write a rap musical. That might be easier to do than sing.
Why don't you write a rap musical?
मैंने try किया था.
I mean, you're talking about Hamilton, which has plenty of rap.
मैंने कुछ एक साल एक दोस्त के साथ बैठ के we tried doing it.
And?
Yeah, ADHD problems. I have like 6 projects जो various stages of completion पे हैं और for years have just been shelved and are sitting there. आपने मुझे आज बहुत ज़्यादा inspire किया actually while you were on a पीपी ब्रेक. अब्दुल्ला को ये बता रहा था कि मैं आज अली से बात करके ना अपनी सारी ज़िंदगी छोड़कर वापस जा रहा हूँ अपने रूट्स पर. things that I actually want to do.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you're doing that. That's good if you start it. But I want to know more about this rap project of yours. Please tell me.
Off screen बताऊँगा ना, कोई छाप ले तो.
अच्छा.
No, essentially it's like Hamilton for Pakistan basically. Yeah.
Very interesting.
So आपके process पे आते हैं. You said कि when you have the script, you and Sunil read it together. Is that a cold read or are you discussing? What's happening?
I think the cold reads happen separately, and then we discuss.
So you both bring your ideas.
Yeah. We kind of bring it and then we just discuss and we try things out. He's एक Sunil की ये बात है. He's willing to try everything. You know, he doesn't have he has something in his imagination which he wants to achieve. That's how he says it, right? He's like, you have something in your imagination and you want to achieve it. Great, good. What does that mean? I think what that means is that there's an image, there's that, then there's an emotional or a let's say a mystical place in his mind that he wants to achieve, or he wants the audience to feel this specific thing, whatever that is. And he doesn't care what he has to do to get there. And what he has to do to get there is to hear my stupid thoughts as well. So he's willing to do that, you know. So I'll go through some thoughts with him and we'll talk about it and we'll try and say कि अच्छा, you know, इस मोमेंट में शायद ये हो रहा था उसके साथ, या ये जब उसने बात कही है तो अगर इन्फ्लेक्शन इस तरह होगी तो शायद ये सोच रहा होगा, या शायद, you know, maybe at this point the cost of this is more than the cost of that, इसलिए उसने ये किया है. जो भी उसके वो प्रोसेस हैं कैरेक्टर के, वो I think we just keep trying to refine that process so that we can start working it into scenes. And then every scene is just a situation, right? It's a combination of situations. And Sunil likes playing out situations in a lot of detail. He'll find every inflection, every line. And it seems like a technical process, but it's not, because he's got a lot of... He's trying to achieve what's in his imagination in that space, and he's trying to get you there. So to do that, he might have to reflect on something that is, you know, बस ये inflection की बात है, या बस ये pause की बात है, बस ये है, बस ये वो है. लेकिन ये करते करते अगर कुछ और चीज़ बनती है तो उसको भी उसकी हद तक ले जाता है. So there's a lot of this making up situations, and there's a lot of अच्छा इस situation में से निकल कर, लेकिन आप कह रहे हो अच्छा अगली situation में या अगले scene में तो ये कह रहा है, which is opposed to what he's doing right now. So Sunil's answer to that is हाँ, देखते हैं क्या होता है, देखते हैं क्या निकलता है. So we'll resolve this and move on, and we'll find a way to incorporate it later on. And if it works, great. If it doesn't,
in the month before rehearsals, आप कह रहे हैं कि आप औरों की lines पढ़ रहे होते हैं. But are you also scoring? Are you doing beats? Are you doing the technical work with your lines, or are you like नहीं मुझे बस ज़हन बनाने दो?
If I'm acting, no. If I'm directing something, then yeah. But if I'm acting, no. I don't do the technical stuff. I'll just try and figure out the world. कि वो क्या है, दुनिया इन किरदारों की, दुनिया क्या है और क्यों है, और इस तरह मतलब archetypal representations क्या हैं इसमें और किसकी हैं. Not as a technical thing, as a feeling. और अगर वो समझ में आ जाता है, या थोड़ी सी चीज़ थोड़ी tangible अगर हो जाती है, I have something then, right? So then I can hold on to that. And it's oftentimes, anything I've done so far, oftentimes it's just a thread, a very, very small, very thin thread, and you have to gently just keep pulling it. You can't yank it too hard, it breaks. You can't leave it because you lose it. So you have to really, really gingerly keep trying to move towards it. And every rehearsal, I have to keep reminding myself that, I had that thought, let's try it. And then you play with it, and you play with it, and you can make it something recurring. And eventually कुछ बन जाता है उसका. अभी तक I haven't had to abandon a thread up till now. I've held on to all of them when I've done a project. So Yeah, not the technical stuff.
And at the end of the thread, do you more often than not find a primary color? कि वो जो primary driver ढूंढ रहे हैं या सोच रहे हैं, does it have to be like a base emotion?
No, I think a lot of the time it's a space. You know, that thread leads to this big space or a small space, but it's a space, and that space is full of different things. It can't be one thing. You know, similar to Alan, right? Alan isn't the result of one thing. He's not the result कि उसके बाप के साथ ये मसला था और बाप ने जाके फिल्म देख ली वहाँ पे और मैंने वो भी देख ली, बाप ने पकड़ लिया, अब खत्म हो गया सब कुछ. It's not that. It's not कि you know I haven't figured out my sexuality yet and now this girl is really into me और यहाँ कुछ होने वाला है and then I've lost my sense of self. It's not that. It's not that he's obsessed with horses, but it's also not that he's not obsessed with horses. But then it's also that, you know, what did Mama tell me as I was growing up? Why was the frame जो लगा हुआ था बिस्तर के सामने, you know, he beats himself to like, and by beats himself I mean physically beats himself, not well maybe, you know, so it's all these things that make it up. So it can't just be a primary thing.
एक हमारे पुराने film actor हैं, I don't know if the story got to you, but that's what he had an issue with.
Really?
हाँ एक आए थे पुराने film actor हैं देखने, जिन्होंने बाहर
Equus देखने,
बाहर उन्होंने थोड़ा शोर डाल दिया था कि ये पाकिस्तान में ये कैसे हो रहा है.
Really?
हाँ.
Oh, wow. Good on him, यार.
खुद की उनकी मूवियाँ दिखा दे, मतलब पाकिस्तान में ये कैसे कर रहे थे ना.
यार मतलब बच्चे ने फिर घोड़े भी तो मार दिए ना, ये भी तो हुआ उसके साथ. So you know, but I didn't know that.
हाँ बताऊँगा मैं आपको off screen बताऊँगा. Even when the scene with Natasha was happening, the aunties behind me were like, "Oh, वाला कोच के पाकिस्तान में कैसे हो रहा है? अच्छा वीडियो तो बनाओ."
Of course.
अच्छा लोग हमें मार देंगे अगर हम जॉयलैंड का ही नहीं डिस्कस करें. I mean there was so much that I wanted to talk to you about कि हमने जॉयलैंड तो जिक्र ही नहीं किया. So you're saying you got a call from Sam?
I got a call from Sana. I got a call from Sana, and I think she said कि फवाद से पूछा था शायद उन लोगों ने कि do you think, and then Fawad I think said कि call me Ali up. Sana called me up. एक टाइम हमने सेट किया. I went, I auditioned. 4 hours long. Interesting stuff. Discussion भी अच्छी खासी हुई. तब तक मैंने स्क्रिप्ट भी पढ़ लिया था. So we had lots of things to discuss audition में. वो भी किया, scenes भी किए. उसके बाद that's it. Then I thought,
अब तक तो काफ़ी लोगों ने देख ली होगी. So you've read the script. What do you walk in with? What are your questions, your ideas that you're walking in with?
I think one of the first things that I discussed with him was that this can't be mistaken for an activist-y film. It can't be, because it's not, right? And this is something that Simon and I completely agreed on in that first meeting. Okay, this is not an activist-y film. If we're irresponsible with it, it could look like one. But in its soul, it is not. And we both agreed on that from the first day. And I think कि वो जो लड़का है उसकी boundary भी clearly defined नहीं थी, ना होनी चाहिए थी. I think it would have been easier and it would have been more silly अगर हमने उसकी कोई boundary define करके कुछ कर दिया होता that this is what he was trying to be or this is what he thought he was, right? This is also something Simon and I discussed in a lot of detail throughout the process. We discussed this game. You know, what does he want, and where are we willing to go with that? Lekin I think वो एक grey space थी where we wanted to stay, and Simon and I both agreed on that. And उसके अलावा I think मेरे ज़्यादा सवाल उस वक्त ये थे about your relationship with the father, relationship with the brother, relationship with the sister-in-law, because the relationship that was closest to him was the one with his wife, and that was the most truthful relationship that he had. So that was I think these were the things I came with, and these are the same things I held on to till the end. And I think Simon also had the same. Moreover, all in all, the same thoughts I think.
So you get the part. What happens then? You meet Saim one-on-one for these discussions. You get into the rehearsal space. क्या होता है?
हाँ 21 January में audition कर लिया था. And I was convinced कि नहीं होगा because audition मैं नहीं कर सकता. I'm horrible at auditions and I don't clear them ever. So I thought, okay, that's another one. It's gone. Whatever, doesn't matter. But तब तक because मैंने पढ़ लिया था, I wanted it pretty bad. I was like, no, this is interesting because you read the script, यार, वो साइम जिस तरह से लिखा था, and that was an older draft that I read, and it was fascinating. And I was like, नहीं यार, ये तो करना है. तो अब मैं ये सोच रहा था कि अगर वो लोग कहते हैं अच्छा नहीं or something like that, तो फिर मैं क्या करूँगा? फिर मैं किससे बात करूँ? मैं साइम से बात करूँ? मैं क्या करूँ? किस तरह करूँ? Luckily, I got a call, I think a week after the 2 weeks, and they said the opposite. They said that, would you be interested? And I said, yes. And then फिर उनको जाहिर सी बात है अपना वो detailing करनी थी, and logistics करने थे, planning करनी थी, and schedule बनाने थे and all of that. So कुछ वक्त there was radio silence, and they were figuring out and continuing on with their pre-production. June, I moved to Lahore, and sometime in June हमने rehearsal शुरू कर लिए थे. And साइम की ये भी बात है that I deeply love and respect कि वो rehearsal पे बहुत focus लाता है. So it's not just देखते हैं set पे क्या निकलता है. It is कि no, let's figure out कि ये चीज़ क्या है and ये rehearsal में कहाँ तक जा सकते हैं हम. And some of those rehearsals, I think we shot some of them. So एक पूरा process था rehearsal, actual proper rehearsal का, जिस तरह हम करते हैं theatre में, जिस तरह आप करते हैं. तो वो फिर एटलीस्ट कुछ चीज़ें तब तक solidify हो गई थी. एटलीस्ट एक जनरल डायरेक्शन हमें मिल चुका था कि अच्छा, this is where this film is going and this is where I have to go and this is what I have to think. And I was lucky because I was also coupled with the same thing. January onwards I had to change my food around and stuff because I had to cut weight for the film. I was much heavier at that time and that wasn't good. So that started too. So luckily I was in that similar space where my routine had changed. My exercise changed, my food intake changed, my timings changed, sleeping changed. And so when all those things change, you feel like you're in a weird space anyway, right? So that really helped. And then on top of that, मैं लाहौर में था जहाँ मैं visit किया हुआ, लेकिन I've never lived there. So June onwards I was living there and I came back once or twice for small things. My parents were unwell in the middle of COVID type thing. I came back for that and then went back as well. But basically उस वक्त से हमारे rehearsal और ये सारी planning शुरू हो गई थी and dates उनकी locked थी. So it was just about figuring out, I don't know, accent and ये and Punjabi and वो सारी चीज़ें जो मुझे नहीं आती थी. And जो हैदर की दूसरी जो बहुत fine points थे जिनको ज़रा आई थिंक उनके बारे में डिटेल में सोचना था या साइम के साथ डिस्कशंस करनी थी, वो सब. एंड देन लाहौर के आई थिंक वो एक तो गवार मंडी वाला स्पेस और दूसरा जो महफिल थिएटर वाला स्पेस है, टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट स्पेस, टू सी इट अ लिटिल बिट, टू सी व्हाट इट स्मेल्स लाइक इन देयर, टच द वॉल लिटिल बिट, जस्ट टू सी कि क्या जगह क्या है. सो दैट आई स्पेंट सम टाइम डूइंग दैट ऑल्सो. जून से लेके और जुलाई अगस्त आई थिंक September we started shooting. And by November we were done. I think 2 महीने तक चली थी shoot. I think 1.5 महीना 2 महीना, that type thing.
Technical aspect, Punjabi accent कितना work किया, कितना आपको लगता है important है, and how did you not fall in the trap of focusing so much on the accent that you lose the character, which I feel sometimes people do?
Well, it's the character's accent. So if you don't have the accent, you don't have the character. If you don't have the character, you don't have the accent. So both those things have to be married. You can't leave one out and have the other. So that's a matter of principle, I think. So you have to hold on to that. And the next
what I was getting at was sometimes लोग caricature में फंस जाते हैं ना, कि पंजाबी करना है.
हाँ, I know. लेकिन वो एक ट्रोप पे चले जाते हैं ना, वो हाँ. लेकिन ये एक चीज़ थी जो साइम को भी नहीं चाहिए थी, मुझे भी नहीं चाहिए थी. And we got a lot of help from Sarmad in this as well. He was very helpful in this because I had a separate session with Sarmad to figure out these things. I know that मैंने जो थोड़ा सा टाइम पंजाब में गुजारा था उस वक्त तक, और जो उससे पहले भी मैं आगे थोड़ा सा ट्रैवल किया हुआ है. So there was the trope was in my mind and maybe trope -10. You know, that was in my mind, right? But I didn't like it. I didn't think that was good enough. I needed something more. I needed to believe it. You know, okay, trope -10 is not enough. It needs to be grounded. It needs to be very solid. Because he has to think in that accent. You know, जो उसका लहजा है, जो उसके inflections हैं, he has to think like that. I can't think like, you know, like fucking, I don't know, Michael Caine and then start, you know, you can't. So I have to think like that. So to think like that.
Imagine ऐसी तरह होता. Biba बेचारी sad है and you're like, why do we fall, Biba?
Why do we fall? Yeah. Ridiculous.
किसी से चलना पुद्दी. Why do we fall लगा है? चल.
So we had to, you know, उसमें हमें बहुत डिटेल में काम करना पड़ रहा था, which I liked and I like working in detail. सरमत के साथ भी अच्छा खासा टाइम हमने निकाला, so that, you know, I'd take all the lines and I'd break them apart and I'd sit with him and I'd say, where does this inflection lie? What does he, you know, what does that mean? What does that mean? And Sarmad would do a very, very brilliant thing. He would ask me, what does he mean to say? मुझे ये बता दो, and then let's figure out how to get there. You know, so I try and figure out the soul of that thing with Saim and myself, and then I take that there and figure out how the accent applies. फिर मैं लेकर, I'd be back in the hotel with my stupid notes everywhere and just figure out how to manage that. And one thing that really helps is writing. तो आप अगर notebook है आपके पास, pen है, then that's all you need. You sit down and you just keep jotting down जो भी accent के notes हैं, खुद के हैं, thoughts के हैं, relationships के हैं with other characters, वो सारी चीज़ें आप note कर करके उसका एक you have to bring it to life, right? Like he didn't wake up at the age of 20, whatever, how old this boy was. He was alive. So you have to compensate for all those years in a very small amount of time. So you have to think a lot. And you do all of that. And so, that was the process. And that's why I think, क्योंकि इसलिए मैंने शुरू में यही कहा था that accent can't go without character and character cannot go without accent. तो अगर मैं accent करना चाह रहा हूँ हैदर वाली, then I have to take all the things that made that accent for him, right? I can't just say it's a Punjabi accent and it'll apply. मतलब वो copy paste आप नहीं कर सकते, you know, because फिर आप ये भी सोच सकते हो कि अगर technically सोचना है तो पंजाब का हाँ बिल्कुल, लेकिन कबाल मंडी का है और कबाल मंडी में ये तबका है और उसमें ये और उसमें वो, इसमें ये, तो वहाँ के लोग कैसे, अब या तो आप वहाँ बैठें, you know, लस्सी वाली शॉप पे बैठ के आप, जो मैंने किया भी, बट बैठ के आप देखें कि लोग क्या हैं और किस तरह बात करते हैं, but you can't overhear too much, right, without being a complete snoop and a creep. So you can't do that too much. So you have to figure out how to create it, and to do that, एक तो आपने टाइम जितना आप स्पेंड कर सकते हैं वहाँ वो करें, दूसरा जिनके साथ, I mean, you have resources, so just work through them, and that's what we did.
Did you sit at the lassi shop and try and talk in Punjabi ताकि?
No, I didn't do that. No, I didn't do that. I sat at the lassi shop and had lassi, which was very disappointing lassi, unfortunately. It was quite
इस वक्त लाहौरी देख रहे हैं ना जो,
नहीं वो स्पेसिफिक दुकान की अच्छी नहीं थी, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि मैंने लाहौर में,
कबाल मंडी की बहुत अच्छी लस्सी है वैसे, अब तो खैर
है तो बहुत अच्छी, लेकिन वो स्पेसिफिक दुकान जो थी वहाँ की लस्सी अच्छी नहीं थी.
अब तो वो है भी नहीं ना, वो जो गली थी जो उन्होंने ब्लॉक ऑफ की हुई थी जहाँ सब मिलता था, आई थिंक दैट गली डजंट एग्जिस्ट एनीमोर.
No, it's all the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there and I'm not, I mean, maybe जिस गली की आप बात कर रहे हैं वो तब तक नहीं है, maybe उससे पहले ही खत्म हो गई.
Maybe it's back, but खैर हम क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं उस चीज़.
हाँ, I mean,
वहाँ की लस्सी बहुत मज़े की होती थी.
हाँ, वहाँ की लस्सी यकीनन बहुत मज़े की होती थी. Not the same shop. तो हाँ, a little bit of time lassi, a little bit of time walking around, a little bit of time in the theater, whatever.
So is it in your hotel room, is it a lot of repetition of the lines?
Sorry, explain
to get
that.
The Punjabi right.
Oh, yes. But it's not to get the Punjabi right. So the reason why I pause is because it is to get the intention right, and the Punjabi follows. You know, if the Punjabi is not following, तो आपने homework सही नहीं किया हुआ probably. But if the intention is right, the intention is grounded in his experience, which is a Punjabi experience essentially, which is a human experience. So all things have to work together somewhat. But yes, there was lots of repetition.
How do you feel the film and the theater process differ? Because theater पे ये भी होता है कि आप 20 shows करने, छठे शो पे कोई लाइट बल्ब जले एंड यूर लाइक यार ये अच्छी चीज़ एक फिगर आउट हो गई एंड यू फाइंड मोर, I mean, on your 20th show, you know more about the character than you do on your first show.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
But
sometimes that happens. We've also done a play in which the set caught fire on the last day. That was fun. Literal fire.
Nice.
I mean, flames in the air kind of fire.
So you have set the stage on fire.
Yes.
With your performance.
Quite.
आग लगा दी भैया, आग लगा दी.
हाँ, पीछे बल्ब जल गया था. और एक और प्ले था जिसमें एक लाइट जल गई थी और we paused for about 10 minutes trying to figure out how to get that light. And we were just frozen in place because we were on stage and the other guys had to figure out the light. And then they made the announcement. Till then, we didn't know what had happened, so we were just frozen. It was quite funny.
So yeah, in film, how do you feel like कि अच्छा यार film खत्म हो गई and you're like अच्छा मुझे अब समझ में आ रहा है वो जो पहला scene हमने किया था, but now that's committed to film.
Well, that's what I'm saying now, is that that's a risk I don't want to run. I don't want to go with that risk.
I mean, even you try your best, but I'm sure it still happens, right?
Well,
like
see,
if you watch the film, you're like, हाँ ये मैं. I'm sure you can see a lot more than somebody.
There's some things that I can see, but see, this is the point, right? This always happens if I'm doing something. हमेशा वापस देख के मैं कह सकता हूँ कि यार ये सही नहीं था बॉस, इसमें गुंजाइश थी, इसमें काम है, इसमें ये है, इसमें वो है. और मुझे पता था ये फिल्म है, तो मुझे पता था इस चीज़ से मुझे दूर रहना है, इस criticism से, because I will drive myself mad if I start thinking like that, and that's not healthy. So to disassociate and to let go, you have to create something to disassociate from, and that thing has to be bloody 3-dimensional. You cannot 4-dimensional. You cannot let it go. It has to be secure. So what does that mean? That means you have to go to an extent. What is that extent? We don't know, but you have to go. So that's what it was. January onwards, it was constructing something so that when it's D-Day, when it's time to go, I want to believe every line coming out of the boy's mouth while I'm saying it. If I feel a doubt, I need to ask for another take. If I feel it's not right, I need to ask for another take. Or I need to tell the director कि अगर कुछ भी आपको महसूस हो रहा है, हल्का सा भी इधर उधर जा रहा है, वहीं रोक के मुझे फिर से करवा लें. I have no problem. आप मुझसे 1000 बार करवा लें. I don't care. I want to get it right. So, the problem is that you have to do the homework to believe it. And it all comes down to that. So, I would try and do every line with belief behind it, and not to think of it technically, कि ये movement उसकी यहाँ अगर blocking ही होगी, ये change कर दूंगा तो ये बेहतर. नहीं भाई, वो क्या intention है, क्या like raw उसकी motivation क्या है, वो चीज़ अगर समझ में आ गई, the camera can be ऊपर नीचे इधर उधर, and if you're there and if you believe it, the camera will pick it up. If you don't, it won't. And बाकी प्रोफेशनल्स बैठे हुए हैं, there's a DOP that's bloody good at lighting things up, तो वो खुद बता देगा कि यार 2 इंच इधर हो जाओ, 3 इंच उधर हो जाओ, वो पकड़ लेगा. आप वो टेंशन ना लें कि लाइट भी पकड़ लूँ और ये भी कर लूँ और यहाँ फेस दे दूँ, ऐसा प्लीज़, that's not the job. The job is to act. Let everybody else do their job as well. So I tried to come from there, which means कि अपने आप को सिक्योर कर देना, right? ताकि अब अगर मैं वो देख लूँ, and I haven't watched it much anymore because it's a heavy film to watch, and it's just heavy, so I don't really watch it much anymore, but I think generally speaking, I've saved that myself from that pain, in that I think while I was making it, I knew that I'll have to work like it's the last thing I'm doing, and I like working like that, like everything's in the air, those stakes are really high. And so you have no choice but to work your rear end off. And so if you're willing to go there, then go. And so the difference in theatre for me is कि अगर आप theatre आप हमेशा D-Day की preparation कर रहे होते हैं ना, कि स्टेज पे निकलना है, उसके बाद जंग है, उसके बाद नहीं पता, उसके बाद जो भी होता है आपने कवर अप करना है, वहीं करना है, आपने कुछ भी कर देना है, वहीं करना है, एंड आपने preparation सब उस दिन के लिए की हुई है. So the experiment that I'm running is कि फिल्म में I should try and do the same. बिकॉज ये नहीं होगा कि आप पहले दिन पे उस किरदार का पहला मोमेंट कर रहे होंगे और आखिरी दिन पे आप लास्ट मोमेंट कर रहे होंगे. ऐसा नहीं होता. आप ऑफन सीन 75 कर रहे हो, फिर सीन 30 कर रहे हो, फिर सीन 20 कर रहे हो, फिर सीन 5 कर रहे हो, फिर एक इंसर्ट दे रहे हो जो कि सीन 135 पे आता है. यू डोंट नो, बट दैट मीन्स आप जहाँ भी बैठो, जिधर भी हो, अगर वो कहे कि अच्छा अब वो यहाँ है और अब वो ये कर रहा है, डू इट एंड बिलीव इट. डोंट क्वेश्चन इट. डोंट गो लाइक अच्छा नहीं तो फिर ये, तो फिर वो, तो फिर इसमें वो था, फिर इसमें ये था. कॉन्टीन्यूटी forget it.
So जो आप टेक्निकल बातें कर रहे हैं उसमें कॉन्शियस एलिमेंट कितना है और रिहर्सल कितना है? So like let's say for example you're thinking अच्छा यार he's somebody who doesn't occupy a lot of space because for whatever reasons. Now बॉडी लैंग्वेज अब वो बंदा कॉन्शियसली सोच सकता है अच्छा यार वो कम स्पेस ले रहा है क्योंकि उसको लगता है अब ये एक फिलोसॉफिकल एक्सरसाइज है, राइट? बट व्हेन यू हैव दीज आइडियाज अबाउट द कैरेक्टर, how do you translate that into the body? Is it a lot of just staying in that and letting the body decide what the body wants to do once you're in that feeling?
That's I usually subscribe to that. It depends on the project. With every project I think sometimes it differs. कभी कभार आपको ज़रा कुछ force करना पड़ता है या कुछ एक experiment run करना पड़ता है and you need to question the believability of it with other people and see how it's working and then you apply it. ये भी है, लेकिन in this one in particular यही था that if I just stay in my mind, if I stay there, then I should trust that everything will follow. Lekin for that you have to keep your body in a state where it responds to that too, right? Oftentimes body अकड़ी भी होती है और आपको दिमाग वहाँ पहुँच जाता है लेकिन जिस्म नहीं आ रहा होता पीछे, right? But उसके लिए your own relationship with your body has to be and Heather's relationship with his body is very interesting. It's a complex situation with him because he's not sure what his body is and he's not sure what the expression of his physique is. And that's why dance gives him something, whatever it gives him. And so, I think कि अगर आप उस मोड में रहते हैं, उस मोड में, if you're living it, again, वही बात, then your body will follow. If you have a good relationship with your body.
ये बहुत पसंद है आपको ये साइलेंट क्राई वाले कैरेक्टर्स?
अच्छा,
जो एक साइलेंट क्राई कैरी कर रहे हैं. I mean, you're talking about DD and then you see it in Heather as well, right? Like, yeah. I think some people feel not fulfilled because they don't get a dramatic end, but it's the end of the story that they're telling, right? Heather की जो जर्नी है उसका एक बहुत अच्छा एंड है, especially since I think Mumtaz talks about that, going to the sea, and so the Heather just being for a bit, just being without having to perform, is a great end to his journey.
And you'd believe it too. You'd believe it too if you had a loud moment or a big moment of thing for the end or a release. I don't know if I'd believe it, to be honest. And as watching it, you wouldn't, because you'd know, oh, that's where the story comes to a close. But if you, like you're saying, if you just be and you respect that space and you respect that character and you just want to make sure that he's grounded and you leave him there, he'll still be there. You know what I mean? You can come back to him a little while later and he'll be where you left him. But if you have a big showdown and you go away, he's not going to be there. He's going to be somewhere else, and then there's no way to hold him, and then you miss it, you know, and that's weird.
लोगों के बहुत ज़्यादा सवाल थे. I love having these conversations. तो I'm not sure. By the way, feedback दीजिएगा, because हम इतने like technical बातें कर रहे हैं, which both of us are geeks about. Yeah. But I don't know अगर audience will be like, boring you? नहीं ये तो अब्दुल्ला तो हमारा boy है, but audience का it would be interesting, right? Because I love these conversations. I don't like a सतही लेवल पे बात करना. अगर बात करनी है तो जरा डीप में करें. But I'm assuming most of our audience doesn't want to be an actor, or even if they do, then like
this podcast will be cut to about 5 minutes.
नहीं चलेगी तो पूरी. But I'm just curious what the audience thinks. I mean, I'm always curious. लोगों के बहुत ज़्यादा सवाल थे यार. Let's run through this. Having worked in theatre so much, what is his opinion? Is the theatre in Pakistan desperately in need of money? Next question. What do you think? I
agree. In need of money. It's desperately in need of money. And there needs to be lots of competition in the market. That's how things get better.
मतलब हम इस तरह की बातें करते हैं. थिएटर को क्या चाहिए? आप थिएटर बना तो दें. अगर 17-18 थिएटर्स होंगे तो प्लेस खुद होना शुरू हो जाएंगे. 17-18 कॉमेडी क्लब्स होंगे, कॉमेडियंस बनना खुद शुरू हो जाएंगे. So it needs everything at this point.
Yeah, needs a lot of effort. I do have to say though, if the people that I didn't do theatre with, and if, for example, if Napa didn't exist and all that, I don't know where I would be doing what I'm doing, that's for sure, but I don't know how I would have done it. So I am appreciative of what we do have, but that's not, it may have been to some extent enough for some people, and maybe even for me to, alhamdulillah, be where I am, but it's maybe not enough for everything to happen, so we need more.
Most difficult scene to shoot? I guess Joyland में कर लेते हैं, because
In Joyland, what's
most difficult scene to
shoot in Joyland? यार अजीब सा किरदार है, बहुत सारी चीज़ें थी उसकी काफ़ी मुश्किल. I think maybe one of the dances was probably one of the most difficult. But are you asking or whoever's asking, are they asking or what do you think? Are they asking in terms of like an emotional space or in terms of like a...
जी जो आप पूछ रहे हैं जी जी अच्छा ठीक. Emotional sense.
Emotional sense.
Just assumed.
Emotional sense. I think everything past the second act was quite horrible. I wasn't having fun beyond the second act.
I mean, post the big thing, that little scene with Sarwat. Well, and Sarwat's
even before that, I think after the biggest, the big dance, I think past that is when he just fell after that, because he had the realization of what he had done, and he.
आपको नाचना आता था?
नहीं.
सीखा?
जी.
Which also I guess works, right? Because Heather कुछ not like Heather dancer था.
Yeah. Gulshan Majid थे हमारे choreographer. Excellent.
Gulshan is in doing a movie.
I believe he is.
Yes.
It's done though, right? I think it's done.
It has been shot.
Lovely.
Credits में मेरा नाम पढ़िएगा.
What were you doing in this film, may I ask?
I was the casting director.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, how lovely.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks to Sana.
Congratulations to Sana as well.
Ask him if he can speak Sindhi. तहाँ की सिंधी अच्छी थी?
No.
Why?
KGS.
I was just going to say that. I'm happy. I'm finally more Sindhi than somebody on this podcast. Why are some artists so dismissive of interpretations of their work? With Joyland, we kept hearing what is and isn't about. I don't think you heard a lot of it from people who made Joyland. You heard a lot of this from YouTubers. But thoughts on people who are artists who are dismissive of interpretations. I don't think artists should be, in my opinion. Once it's out for everybody to see how they want to see it. But what's your take?
Well, I didn't understand the question, sorry.
What's your take on artists who are dismissive of interpretations of their work?
Of artists who are dismissive about so if I'm an artist and I made something, am I dismissive about people's interpretation?
No. I don't think they mean you, but I think
generally broadly speaking, I think once it's out, then it's for everybody to consume, and you have a right to have an opinion.
अच्छा ये segue है. Somebody said explain Joyland. फिर आप देख लें, आपकी जो interpretation है वो उतनी valid है जितनी अली कुछ कहेगा तो होगी. समझ ही नहीं आ रहा क्या हुआ मूवी में. Was it about मुमताज़'s tocophobia और another character role? अनम आपको जो समझ में आया है वो ही valid है. अच्छा इस तरह कुछ 3-4 इसी तरह के सवाल हैं. What do you want to say to people who watch the movie and they're like हमें समझा दें?
नहीं. I mean it's a film यार. आप देख लें. आप come up with your opinion. अगर आपको लगता है it's about Heather, then it's about Heather. आपको लगता है if it's about Mumtaz, it's about Mumtaz. If आपको लगता है it's about Biba, it's about Biba. If it's about Nochi, it's about whatever. It's up to you.
Do you feel हमें पाकिस्तान में फिल्म देखना नहीं आता? हमें चाहिए कि वो एंड में जिस तरह डॉक्टर्स विजिट होता है, एंड में आप लिख दें कि 6 पैनाडोल खानी है.
आई थिंक ये इशू है. हम मैसेज के पीछे बहुत ज़्यादा इसका मैसेज आई डोंट नो नहीं होना चाहिए. आई डोंट थिंक ऐसा होना चाहिए. थिंग्स शुड बी अप फॉर इंटरप्रिटेशन. और अगर इंटरप्रिटेशन ना भी हो, अगर कोई एक ये जैसे होता है ना, स्टूडेंट्स कहते हैं बहुत कि किसी सोशल व्हाट्स द वर्ड
इशू,
हाँ सोशल इशू पे कुछ बनाते हैं. It just drives me mad. Tell me a bloody story. I don't care. Stop it. Just tell me a story. That's all I want. I don't want any social issues. And the backdrop of all things is generally social issues, so you don't need to push any of them anyway. So I think what was the question?
पता नहीं. फिल्म मैं आपको जनरली बोल रहा था कि लोगों को ज़रा बता दें कि फिल्म थिएटर देखना कैसे है. we're so used to, अभी मैंने लिखा था. हाँ
स्पून फीड करने वाली बात थी ना ये. हाँ स्पून फीड करने की ज़रूरत नहीं होनी चाहिए. I don't think होनी चाहिए at all. I think if you're making it, it's good enough. And you know, there's no message.
Yeah.
There's no message. We don't need message.
I mean, लिखा भी था, films don't have messages, and then people were like, what about propaganda films? Yes, that's propaganda. Films shouldn't. Good films don't have messages.
वो genre ही आपने define कर लिया ना, कि वो फिर genre का मसला है ना. अगर propaganda film है, उसमें एक message है, वो अब आपकी मर्जी, आप वो देखें ना देखें, उसके साथ engage करें ना engage करें उस narrative के साथ. वो नहीं देखना, आप कुछ और देख लें. कुछ और देखना, इसमें message नहीं है तो फिर उसके आप उसके अंदर message ना ढूंढें.
Very few let's say अगर ड्रामा भी कोई देख रहा है या फिल्म भी कोई देख रहा है पाकिस्तान में, वो उससे बाहर नहीं है ना. या तो मैसेज होता है या तो सोशल इशू बेस्ड हमने बनाया है, और वो करते वही चीज़ें हैं जो नॉर्मल ड्रामे में कर रहे हैं, बस उसको इशू बेस्ड कर देते हैं. सो ऑडियंस इज ऑल्सो नॉट यूज्ड टू वॉचिंग समथिंग एंड देन बीइंग लाइक वेट, आई हैव टू थिंक फॉर माई सेल्फ एंड व्हाट आई थिंक इज वैलिड.
Sacrilegious.
मतलब हम तो क्लास में भी बोलते हैं टीचर को कि यार जैसे माई ओपिनियन, तो चमाट पड़ेगी कि भाई टेल मी व्हाट द ऑथर सेज. तो वो फिल्म देखने के बाद भी हमें चाहिए बताओ कि ये बोलना क्या चाह रहा था, मैं क्यों सोचूं.
हाँ, अब आप मुझे बताएं कि एनालिटिकल कैपेसिटी किसी की भी अब किस तरह काम करें इस पे, आपको क्या लगता है?
Just make better films. Once people start seeing more films, they'll get
right,
used
so
to it.
just flood the market with things and then let people get used to. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I know मेरी सारी एनालॉजीज फूड की होती हैं, बट हम जब पिज़्ज़ा हट खाते थे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगता था. हमें लगता था पिज़्ज़ा सिर्फ पिज़्ज़ा हट ही हो सकता है, इसके अलावा तो पिज़्ज़ा पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है. अब अगर मैं पिज़्ज़ा हट ऑर्डर कर दूँ, आई एम लाइक ये क्या बकवास है, बिकॉज देयर सो मेनी गुड पिज़्ज़ा प्लेसेस एंड देयर सो मेनी ऑप्शंस. अच्छा, मुझे पता है थिन क्रस्ट भी होता है, मुझे पता है स्लाइस वाला भी होता है, फेमस ओज भी है, 14th स्ट्रीट भी है. So now my idea of what a pizza is has expanded.
Sure.
So the Pakistani's idea of what a film is, what theatre is, what drama is,
needs to expand by being exposed to more.
100%. हम टीवी पिज़्ज़ा हट है और आप लोग फेमस होज हैं. इस पॉडकास्ट के बाद कहीं रोल नहीं मिलेंगे मुझे. हाउ डिड ही प्रिपेयर फॉर द रोल?
मुझे भी मिलने थे, आपने सब वो ले लिए मुझसे. थैंक यू.
आपको मैं भी हॉट एंड स्पाइसी से रोल करवाता हूँ इसके बाद, आप फिक्र ही ना करें. आप वैसे भी उस लाइन में है नहीं, उन चीज़ों के पीछे हैं नहीं आप, तो आप क्यों टेंशन ले रहे हैं? ये तो हमने डिस्कस कर लिया प्रिपेयर. थोड़ा अजीब सा क्वेश्चन है. एज एक्टर्स परफॉर्मर्स डू दे ऑफन हैव टू कीप द रिलीजियस बिलीव्स असाइड व्हाइल सेइंग यस टू अ स्क्रिप्ट? आई थिंक यू हैव टू कीप ऑल योर बिलीव्स असाइड. यू कांट कम विथ जजमेंट के मैंने ऑलरेडी इस कैरेक्टर को जज कर लिया, तो फिर आप प्ले कैसे कर सकते हैं?
हाँ, यू कांट कम विथ जजमेंट एंड यू आर नॉट रिप्रेजेंटिंग particularly any angle of your own in any way. So for example, if you're playing somebody who kills somebody in a film, that doesn't mean you're promoting murderous acts. It just means that you played a character. So it doesn't matter कि वो किरदार क्या है. हाँ, आपकी अपनी अगर कोई फैब्रिक मॉरल है या कुछ है जिसको आप चैलेंज नहीं करना चाहते, वो आपकी मर्जी है, पर्सनल मामला है, वो किसी और का नहीं है. लेकिन अगर आप you don't care, then whatever, like do whatever role you want, it doesn't matter.
Do you bear personal responsibility for all the boys who saw Equus and then killed horses? ये आपकी जिम्मेदारी आती है.
ये I will hand this over to Sunil.
I plead the fifth. Ifat Umar कह रही हैं कि she saw the film and you were amazing.
Thank you,
what do you want from international viewers to take from the side of Pakistan that was shown in Joyland? Whatever they want to take. Is there anything you want?
No, I mean, look, it's a movie. You know.
How do you handle criticism about your work? कहाँ से criticism आएगा जब कहीं है ही नहीं? कोई उसके घर की घंटी बजा के बताएगा क्या criticism?
Don't give them that idea.
I'll be Feroz Khan and I'll leak your address.
Oh God, I heard about this today.
अल्लाह माफ करे यार. मतलब to show that we're not bad people do the most vile things in the world. And they're like, देखो मैं अच्छा इंसान हूँ. अभी तो accusation तो छोड़ो, उसके बाद जो आप कर रहे हो, it's maybe not equally vile because what the accusations are the vilest, but this is also filth. अच्छा, how do you handle criticism?
With an open heart, I think. Best way to handle it is to listen with an open heart, and then you can't correct it immediately. वो एक process में डालना पड़ता है, grinder में डालना पड़ता है, and you have to see where you can incorporate it, and then you incorporate it. Look, at the end of the day, you want to be better at what you do. Otherwise, there's no point. You know?
But you also don't want to please everyone.
You can't please everyone.
Yeah.
You can't please everyone.
छोड़ो जोक आ रहा था. Is there any age to join theatre? No.
Is there any
age
to join theatre? No.
अकबर साहब ने, I think, do you know अकबर इस्लाम नापा पे? I don't.
अकबर भाई जी.
I don't think he was young when he started theatre.
No, I don't think he was.
I think he came to it quite old, and
he's good.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love him. How did he decide to become an actor? I think हमने cover कर लिया. नहीं?
I wasn't good at anything. Still not good at anything.
आप अपने क्राफ्ट पे कैसे काम करते हैं जब कोई किरदार नहीं होते तो फ्री होते हो? क्या करते हैं भाई जब आप कोई किरदार नहीं होता?
ये आगे पढ़े जरा.
क्यों?
इसी का आगे पढ़े, क्या लिखा है इसने?
ये आप पढ़ चुके हैं क्या सवाल? He will answer, I read books or watch movies, but ask him reading और film देखने से acting इतनी real हो जाती है. I already asked him, but his answer is not satisfying.
I think this
बस पता लगाओ कि acting practice के लिए क्या करना है जब कोई किरदार नहीं होता.
I think this is the same thing. I think people are looking for a lot of. I think this is somebody who spoke to me when I was doing I did a small thing at Napa. I was talking to some of, I think, Sunil's students. And I think
that's why you knew.
That's why I think as soon as you read it, I was like, ये कुछ जाना पहचाना लग रहा है, ये बात ऐसी है. ये वही बात है ना. I think people look for shortcuts all the time. I'm not accusing you, whoever, that you're looking for a shortcut. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, I think that if you are in fact trying to figure out what to do, I don't know how to help, because I don't know what I do in the middle outside of that, if I'm reading a book or if I'm watching more films or something, or I don't know, working out. Whatever works for me works for me. I don't know. It depends on how far you're willing to go for what you want. So,
who is his ultimate style inspiration?
Style inspiration?
Fashion किसका follow कर रहे हैं?
Oh, that's
I'm assuming that's what this person means.
I am stumped. That's a nice question, yeah. I don't know. I like some old school things. I think I like suits and boots and things like that. I like that stuff. But I don't know कि क्या inspiration.
Blinders. अभी जब मैं इनको करीब से देख रहा हूँ ना, मुझे समझ में भी नहीं आ रहा. एक एंगल से एड्रियन ब्रोडी लगते हैं, एक एंगल से सैफ अली खान लगते हैं. So I'm very, very confused myself.
I've got a crooked nose.
Maybe that's the Brody.
I've got a crooked nose.
Maybe that's the Brody.
So
there are actors who are playing unconventional roles of masculinity in recent times. But examples दिए हुए हैं. Do you watch any of these shows?
क्या examples दिए हुए हैं, if I may ask?
Zahid as Sameer in Ishq Zeh Naseeb, Imran Ashraf as Shamu in Alif Allah, Ahmad Ali Akbar in and as Parisad, Wahaj in Rumi Jo Bichhad Gaye. Did you watch any of these shows? What's your take on these performances and actors in general?
I haven't seen any of these shows. I'm sorry.
If you had the choice,
but I'm sure they're all lovely.
As a drama graduate myself, I attempted to write an absurd play. So here I just want to hear the logic and anatomy between classical plays and theatre of the absurd before you utter dialogues as characters.
I think you should answer that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a technical thing, right? Like, how do you set out to be like, अच्छा मैं theatre of the absurd लिखूंगा? Sometimes you have to know what something is before you can sort of break it. So अगर आपको पता ही नहीं कि classical plays का structure क्या है, या 3-act structure क्या है, या Shakespeare का 5-act structure क्या है, how can you go about breaking it? And if you are breaking it, you wouldn't know why you're breaking it. So I think first you need to really sit down and be like, what is the story that I want to tell, or what do I want to say, before just deciding as a genre thing. If you want to do it as an exercise कि मैं absurdist play लिखना चाहता हूँ, go for it. But I think what you want to do will dictate the form as opposed to the genre deciding. मतलब पहले genre ना decide कर लें. But read for sure. Read Beckett, read Albee. आपने Albee भी किया हुआ है ना? And then see what you get out of it, because theatre of the absurd is also not one thing. Maybe Waiting for Godot is a lot more about nothing, as opposed to an Albee, as opposed to a zoo story. I think a zoo story is a lot more realistic than Waiting for Godot, for lack of a better word. तो वो भी एक, it's not one thing.
Yeah, I think figure out what your story is, and everything else follows.
बट ये डिवाइसिंग वाला भी आइडिया बहुत अच्छा है. इफ़ यू हैव अ टीम एंड इफ़ यू सेड यूर ड्रामा ग्रेजुएट, अगर आप नापा पे एक्टर्स लेके आ जाएं कमरे में एंड
hash it out.
yeah, let the characters decide where the story goes. That's also a great way of doing it. अगर आप classical story act में नहीं फंसना चाहते या beginning middle end type चीज़ों में नहीं फंसना चाहते, act structure में नहीं फंसना चाहते, get together, come up with something, put it up,
see what happens.
Yeah. Climax के बारे में बहुत ज़्यादा है. I think we've already said that we want to leave it for the audience. So alternate ending, climax, ये वो I think ये सवाल पूछने का कोई point नहीं है. Had Biba not existed in Heather's life, do you think him and Mumtaz could have made their relationship work?
Yes and no. Maybe to an extent. But there was a gaping hole that was there and that needed to be filled. And I think once the cost shows is when you really know what's going on. So yes and no.
Lots of people want to compliment you and they're like, Instagram होता तो हम कर लेते.
Thank you.
मैं भेज रहा हूँ, एड्रेस भेज रहा हूँ आप लोगों को. Somebody saw you in Waiting for Godot back in 2013, so they're wondering what changes, development has he observed in Pakistani theatre scene and what direction is it heading in?
What changes have I seen in the Pakistani theatre scene and what direction is it heading in? Look, I think I come from a time when there was no theatre happening at some point, and then there was some happening, then there was a lot happening, and then COVID happened, and now everything's gone a bit dry as well. So I think one thing to talk about is the frequency of it happening. And what was the second part of the question?
What direction is it headed in?
That's a tricky one. I don't know.
Linear नहीं है ना. अगर इंडस्ट्रीज होती हैं, टेक होती है, वो एक linear growth हो रही होती है. I mean, there was a time, there was a play happening every week at the Arts Council, and a different play happening every week. And then that thing shut down. So,
yeah, at some point there was a festival running with a lot happening in it. At some point there wasn't. And now there isn't much that's going on. And so that means there needs to be more stuff going on. But then we're also kind of looking for quality of a certain kind of work, which, like we established earlier on, isn't possible till there's enough frequency of work. So it's really like either it's a self-defeating thing, or it's the snake that eats itself, or it's infinity. I don't know,
बहुत ज़्यादा बहुत specific सवाल हैं, तो general पूछ लेते हैं. While exploring Heather's character, was Heather's sexuality something that you were exploring?
It's something that we thought about in a lot of detail. We thought about it a lot. And it was something that needed to be something that he's figuring out. So there's no answer. It's something
let's end it with this question. Thoughts on the love between Heather and Mumtaz?
That was the least cloaked he was, the most vulnerable with Mumtaz, the most truthful, ironically, he was with her. That was the closest friendship. The truest love, I think, was with her. And so it was the purest kind of love that I think he knew. I think, yeah.
Thank you so much, Ali Junejo.
Thank you, sir.
आपने हमें इतनी अच्छी बातें की. When Rasti was there, we gave a shout out to the Karachi Legal Aid Helpline. तो DRF Digital Rights Foundation का भी मैसेज आ गया है कि ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ काम कर देने, ਸਾਨੂੰ भी दे दो. 0800 39393 Digital Rights Foundation is a cyber harassment helpline. Again, this is not sponsored. I think they're doing a good job. So please share these things यार. अगर किसी को मसले मसाइल हैं ज़िंदगी में, तो जो नंबर मैंने लिया था वही वाला या समीर नीचे लिख देना. Thank you so much, Ali.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.